Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun, and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news and discussion each and every week. And this week on the show, we have a super special episode. We are celebrating 10 years of Star Wars podcasting. It was 10 years ago that we did our first episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We're also going to be talking about some Emmy wins for The Mandalorian, as well as a new video game trailer for Star Wars Hunters. All that and much more on the show. My name is Chris, and joining me is my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, everybody. And I know what some of you are thinking. Didn't you guys celebrate a 10th anniversary last year? Yeah, we're like that person who can't accept that they're turning 40, and so we're just going to keep turning 39 over and over again. We can't stand the idea of being 11 years old, so we're just going to stay 10 forever. No, this is 10 years of the podcast versus 10 years of the Star Wars Underworld as a whole, because Star Wars Underworld existed for about a year until the podcast started existing. So that's the differentiation here. We're gonna have lots of fun looking back on 10 years of Star Wars podcasting. And even though we just began video podcasting proper a couple of weeks ago, we actually have about 10 years worth of videos to go through as well. So we're going to be looking back on some wild and crazy times from the last decade. Who knows what this will say about us, what you'll think of us at the end of it. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to go through and pull these clips today. So I'm really excited to share all of that with you, in addition to talking about Mandalorian and Hunters and whatever else we may have in store.
It's super exciting. We've had several anniversary shows for the podcast that we've done throughout the years, and being an audio podcast for almost 10 years, we've had all of the audio clips from our memories from celebrations and old podcasts and our first appearances and all of those things. But we've never had the opportunity to do a walkthrough video memory lane before. So that's what's so exciting about this one.
And we should say, if you're listening to this, we haven't forgotten about you. Don't worry. I'm going to say all but one of these will make perfect sense on audio, and the one that doesn't will be a very fun experience nonetheless. I think, hopefully you'll be able to piece together what's going on. But the vast majority of this will sound great in addition to looking great. So if you're just listening to it, you're going to have a great time too.
Yes, and then we also are going to be adding something at the end of the show just for audio listeners.
Yes.
So if you just found us on YouTube and have never listened to the audio show, which I'm sure there's some
dang
of you
it,
out
I
there.
thought I had the full experience on YouTube. No. You got to go, you got to get the full experience by going to the audio version too, on iTunes or wherever you listen.
Go to Apple Podcasts or Google Play or Spotify or Stitcher or any of these places. You can find all those links at StarWarsUnderworld.com, and listen to the end of the show, last 30 seconds. We got a surprise for you, something from very long ago that we dug up that took us many years to find, and we finally have. That other voice you hear, it's the founder of the Star Wars Underworld, Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Yes. It's been a long time coming, and it's kind of hard to believe. Like, not only have we've not only been doing this for 11 years, we've been doing the podcast specifically for 10 years. Pretty crazy. And just, we have the video medium here. We can show you stuff. And I've already seen a little bits and pieces of like what you've collected, Dominic. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is blast from the blast. And Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to getting into it, and because a lot of this is going to be a surprise for me too. So I'll be along for the ride, and going back to some crazy memories from 10-ish years ago.
It is a trip to watch yourself grow up over the course of an afternoon. It was quite something to go through these videos, and
because we were kids when we started this. All right, let's be honest, we were kids.
Basically,
I still feel like a child sometimes, but
And it's also interesting to see how we've changed as people too. It's quite interesting. We're going to have a lot of fun with it, but we got some news to get to first, so we should hit a couple of plugs and then talk about some news first.
Yes, although at first though, I have a confession to Disney police that I need to make. Yeah, a follow up on my story from, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, about my Disney experience. So I finally got to ride the Rise of the Resistance ride.
Woo!
Finally. But I once again ended up somewhere where I wasn't supposed to be. I just cannot help it. So if you haven't heard this story, go back to one of our recent podcasts where I tell that we show the video of me trying to get on the ride after it closed, not knowing that it had closed, and wandering around for 10 minutes trying to find my way out. That was fun. So I got on it when it was open this week, and let me tell you, I want to save people some headache who are going to Disney, and I think this is the case for both the Disney World in Florida and Disneyland in California. If you're going and you're only going for like a few days or something, you have to go through a specific set of hoops that you have to jump through to get on this ride. You have to do it just right. If you don't do this to a T, you're not going to get on, which I found out living here and trying to get on 5 days in a row and not being successful. So they tell you all you have to do is show up to the park and get in a virtual queue. That's not true. You're not going to get it. They also tell you all you have to do is be at the park and get on your phone at 12 p.m. noon and get in the virtual queue when it opens back up again for the day. Also not true. I did that. Didn't get into the ride. What you have to do, and the only thing that works, is you have to set an alarm for right before 7 a.m. in the morning. Wherever you are, you can do this as long as you have a ticket for that day and a reservation for that day. But you can do it from your hotel or your house or wherever. And you have to get in the morning virtual queue at 7 a.m. on the dot. You have to be refreshing it at 6:59, like it's Comic-Con or Star Wars Celebration lottery tickets or like any of this stuff. And then you might get in with like a 5 or 6 hour wait. It ended up being an 8-hour wait for me. It wasn't until after 3 p.m. that I finally had my boarding group called to get on the ride after getting in the queue at 7 a.m. That's 8 hours later. But I was able to get on. And I'm not obviously going to spoil the ride for anybody, so no details about actually what it was like. But I will say that there is a moment in the ride where you're being directed from one spot to another. And it's pretty easy with how many people are on it to just go from one spot to another without being directed. And it so happens there's multiple spots where you can go. So I just saw a spot where people were walking and I followed them because that's what you do at Disney. You follow the lines. And so I followed these people into this spot. I was not supposed to be in this spot. And I broke their system. I got into another spot and realized that there was one too many people in that spot. I was already there. Other people could not do something. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, do I fess up now and like leave? And then I don't know what's going to happen and be like, okay, I think I screwed up. Or do I just kind of let them deal with it and figure it out and maybe fix this problem? And I'm like, maybe this will be better if I just let them deal with it because I'm already all ready to go. So I apologize to the two people that might have had a less than perfect experience on the ride. And Disney, I hope you fix that problem and don't lose track of your people, because I don't know, they might just follow other people into rooms they're not supposed to go into.
Yeah, that seems like something that should be. Maybe it should put up a sign or something that says "Don't go this way yet." That's. I don't know what's going on with that ride and you, but you seem to be cursed. It seems to be bad luck or good luck, depending on how you want to look at it. But I think when I go on that ride, I'm not sure if I want you to come so that something insane will happen, or I don't want you to come with me so that we can just
You want me to go
experience the ride as it was
now
meant
I
to be.
know where not to screw up. So now you're not liable to do the same thing, because I can tell you, don't go over there. Wait,
Yeah, fair enough.
don't
fair
follow
enough.
those people. It's tempting, but don't follow those people. Go over here. Wait till you get your. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. So that's the plan. That's the plan for next time.
We don't know how long it's going to take for them to fix this little problem.
Right.
That they have. Okay, so plugs. Before we get to the news, we are getting really close to 1,000 subscribers. I don't know how close because I clicked off the tab, but we're close. Please subscribe on YouTube if you haven't, and if you're listening to the audio version, even if you're not planning to watch the video version, so subscribing would be a huge help and supporting us.
Smash it.
Smash that button. Smash that subscribe button. Use the force to force press.
Now
that
someone's going to
button.
sue me for them like destroying their computer because they literally smashed it. Pretty awkward.
I wasn't supposed to take a hammer and hit my computer. What? Negligence. And also a reminder that we're part of a network, and we have some other podcasts that are on YouTube as well. Star Wars Culture is one of the great ones. They broadcast on Wednesdays at 5 Pacific. We got the Rollout that broadcasts tomorrow, Friday at 12 Pacific. And then we also have Chatter Squadron that broadcasts at 10 a.m. Pacific on Saturday. And of course, we'll be back with more of our own podcast next Thursday. So stay tuned for that. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/theswu. That's where you can get the pre-shows that we record. And this was quite the pre-show this week.
Yes, it
Dominic was doing some very hard work getting all the technical stuff ready to go for the show. So he was not on. And it was me and Ben scrambling for 30 minutes trying to log into our Patreon. And
Is that why I got about a dozen emails saying we're trying to log into your account? I was starting to get worried. I was like, do I have to change the password? Like, what's going on?
No. That was Carl Fox trying to hack into it.
So if you want to see that wonderful behind the scenes experience, go over to Patreon, donate the minimum amount. They'll let you do that over there. We have
the maximum
review.
amount. We'll take that too.
Yeah, whatever the max. We don't know what the maximum amount is. Carl Fox,
$1 million.
he's giving a raving review saying it was an epic pre-show. So don't take our word for it. Take his. Let's find out what the maximum amount you can donate on Patreon is, and we'll go buy some life-size sideshow figures for our background.
Yeah,
and it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
And we might even wear their armor, and it'll be great. And you can find our merch at tpublic.com/user/the Star Wars Underworld. As always, you can send feedback to swunderworld@gmail.com, which also we were trying to log into. So you might have got some notifications about that one too.
Yeah.
We were like, who has an iPhone 6 attached to this?
I do. I'm the last person on earth still using an iPhone
I was
6.
like, Ben thought it was his old phone that he no longer has. this explains a lot, because I'm like,
Nope.
why is this attached to an iPhone 6?
It's my old phone that I still have.
Wow. So you can get some Patreon content about that as well. And then please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts to offset all the wonderful people that leave us 1-star reviews for some reasons. And finally, Ben, what's the update on IPC's wonderful content this week?
I actually have an update this week, guys. I actually know what we're doing. So we're doing something like really crazy this week. I don't even actually know it's going to work, but we're doing top 5 fan theories. Now, how this is going to work is if you have a theory, whether it's Snoke is Plagueis, whether it's confirmed, not confirmed, if you have 5 theories that you really like, I'm still working on my list. Go drop it. Actually, you can go to our group right now. I think it's facebook.com/group/IPC podcast, Intergalactic Peace Hangout, and you can go sign up, and there'll be prompts on all the social medias too that the Underworld will probably share too. But that'll be a lot of fun, and we haven't gotten that many suggestions so far, so I don't know what's gonna happen. It's going to be crazy. But yeah, go tune in for that on this little YouTube thing tomorrow night about this time.
Sweet,
nice. All right, shall we get into some news then?
Yeah,
we shall.
Is it that time? All right. Well, we'll start with some very exciting news about The Mandalorian. The show that we all know and love. It won 7 Creative Arts Emmys this week. It picked up Outstanding Prosthetic Makeup for Chapter 13, The Jedi, of course, the Ahsoka episode. Outstanding Cinematography for a Single Camera Series Half Hour for Chapter 15, The Believer. Which is the Bill Burr episode, I believe, for this season. Outstanding sound mixing for a comedy or drama series 1 hour. How does this show win both half-hour and 1 hour awards? That
because
seems...
there's episodes that are half hour and episodes that are an hour.
Yeah, but usually they like make the shows like declare this is a half hour and this is an hour. But hey, I like it. I like that they're just breaking through. It won Outstanding Sound Mixing for a Comedy or Drama Series 1 hour for Chapter 13, The Jedi. Again, the Ahsoka episode. Outstanding visual effects, that's just across the board. Outstanding stunt performance for Lateef Crowder, who is, of course, one of the actors in the Mandalorian suit. Outstanding stunt coordination for Ryan Watson. And outstanding music composition for a limited series, Ludwig Göransson.
Nice.
I mean, these are all supremely well-deserved. The show, as we talk about all the time, it's groundbreaking in both storytelling and the way they tell stories. And it's so nice to see it getting this acclaim that it so rightly deserves.
I think the reason why it has both the half hour and the 1 hour thing is I think that it's not shows against each other, it's individual episodes against each other.
Right.
I think that's why that is. So a show it somehow was able to get nominated in multiple categories because of that.
Nice. Well, okay, that makes sense.
That's my explanation as I look at it and try to ponder.
That makes sense.
But it's not surprising. This is what I think is really interesting about television versus film. And so by television, I mean whatever we call the content that we stream now. I guess we should just call it streaming because no longer television, series, whatever. But about streaming versus film, is film a lot of times most of the words go towards less popular projects. Like most of the films that win Oscars, I'd never heard of until it's nominated for an Oscar. And then I go and check it out based on the nominations. Whereas I've noticed that a lot of times with Emmys, it's typically the more popular shows that will get nominated and will win these awards. Like I remember, Game of Thrones won a ton of awards, and that was like one of the most popular shows for many years. And now we know The Mandalorian is one of the top few most popular shows on streaming. At points, it's like the most popular show on streaming, and it gets these awards. So I always find it interesting how that dynamic is that you can make groundbreaking Star Wars cinematography on the big screen and really get snubbed for a lot of awards. But then you make it on the small screens and you win all the awards. Like I always thought that was a really fascinating dynamic, how there's that bent towards more independent stuff with film and more popular stuff with streaming.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is like it's kind of a new thing now, with streaming. It's like there's so many movie quality shows now, and it is like a different kind of breed of shows. And you have, I think there are even certain categories are like best streaming shows. Like, how do you it's funny, there is a distinction now. We're entering really a new renaissance of TV just in general.
Yeah, it's true. And the Oscars, somewhere along the way, they really became about celebrating the lesser known movies, like you said. And to an extent, I feel like the Emmys do that as well. The most popular shows on TV tend to not win, but there's more of a range of like mid-popular stuff that I feel like wins these days. Like Mandalorian's never going to win. It may get nominated for it, but it will never win Best Drama at the Emmys. It won't get the equivalent of Best Picture. There is still that distinction that the voters seem to have. And these are the creative arts Emmys. I don't know if these were in the big presentation the other day. They may be sort of the equivalent of some of the technical Oscars that get handed out. That said, it is true that it does feel like, and maybe it's just because it's easier to access streaming shows these days than it is all the movies. It does feel like when I watch the Emmys, I feel like I've heard of more of the shows than with the Oscars, where I feel like I've only heard of a handful of the movies. So it's interesting. But yeah, I do think you're right, even though I do think that there's still a little bit of that distinction going on, that the people who vote for these things do tend to turn their nose up a little bit at, us lowly franchise fans over here.
The one thing that I can think of is that it has to do with a TV show requires it's harder to make money with TV show and streaming shows. Like it's harder to get a return on your investment, especially if it's really high quality. And so I think there's just less like independent series out there. Typically the stuff that you watch is funded by some really big studio and distributed through some type of streaming service that's a giant, or television channel or a cable channel that's massive and has been around for a while. And so there's really not as many kind of lesser known series out there that are of any quality that might make it up for an award. Whereas I think there's a lower barrier to entry for film. Like you can put together an independent film for a fraction of $1 million and win an Oscar. Lots of people have done it.
Although that doesn't happen all that often. Usually the movies that win still cost a couple million.
But at least a couple million. But even then, it's a lower barrier to entry. Like there's a lot of films out there that cost a few $1 million. That's like, if those people wanted to make the same thing on television, it wouldn't be cost effective to do that. I mean, again, just look at George Lucas. Like, he had no problem creating films, but the second that he wanted to make a live action TV show, there were all these problems because of the barriers to entry. You just couldn't get anybody to actually pay for the distribution, what he needed to fund the project. So I think maybe that's the thing. And I'm wondering if at some point with all these streaming services, if there's going to be a paradigm shift and there's going to be more kind of like indie type shows. Because right now, like, it feels like every show is attached to some big network or some big studio making it. Whereas films, it's like there's all this stuff that like you wouldn't have even heard. They weren't even on the map before.
Yeah. And there is kind of that world you're describing of like independent TV. It does exist. There's lots of web series out there that are not on the main streamers that you really have to look for. But there's some really, really good stuff that's being made and really creative stuff. But it's kind of hidden. You kind of have to look for it. And movies are similar in this regard. That sometimes you have to go find that independent cinema that's showing the new low budget thing, but that is starting to exist and hopefully will continue to evolve, because that's everybody's got to start somewhere. Even George Lucas started off making his student films and working his way up to eventually get into Star Wars. But it's an interesting phase we're in, because it feels like we're sort of at the end of a transition. Like it feels like this last decade has we've seen a real shift in how stuff is produced and what stuff is being produced.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're kind of reaching the end and actually entering into an era now. And we'll just need to see how long this lasts and what it actually looks like.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating.
Definitely.
But yeah, congrats to The Mandalorian. 7 Creative Arts Emmys. I'm sure Book of Boba will pick up a few, and then next year, and then
where's
Kenobi
Best
and
Actor?
Andor.
Where's Best Actor in a drama?
Yeah.
Or best puppet. Best
creature.
cute baby. Cutest baby award. Come on, Academy.
Yeah.
Best baby sounds like some type of like grip type award.
Like best boy.
Yeah.
Best baby boy.
This is getting weird.
Yes, it is. Very much so.
Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Star Wars Hunters. And this week they dropped a new cinematic trailer for that video game.
Got her in my sights. Going in. Lose your team again, Reed?
Don't need them to take you on, Aaron. You'll have to do better than that.
She's all yours, Graz. For the Empire!
I can handle this, Sentinel.
Think again. You didn't wait for
Feel the light side, Sith. It's now or never.
Agreed. It ends here.
Looks like we do this together.
Let's show them what we got.
Run time.
Targets acquired.
On my mark.
It doesn't get closer than this. Down to the last 30 seconds.
Fantastic! What a great night, Alex!
I'm on a winning streak here. Do not let me down.
You must be going for my record.
And now, here are today's combatants.
This ought to be good!
Oh my god. I hadn't seen that until
Oh.
right now.
Oh,
That was awesome. That was
it's
so
really,
cool.
It's really great. Like
That was fantastic. Oh my god. I love that. I know the game will be nothing like that, but that is an awesome
Yeah,
trailer.
the gameplay trailer leaves a little bit different reaction from you.
Yeah. You know, this is a classic example of a Star Wars video game with an amazing cinematic trailer and gameplay that is nothing like it. Of course, the Old Republic was kind of that way,
Yep.
but to me, the more galling example is Star Wars Uprising, because that was like a mobile game that was really, it got very boring very, very fast. But the cinematic trailers were incredible. They had me believing that was going to be a worthwhile investment of my time. Yeah, that was
if
so
the
cool.
game is actually like even an ounce of like what that is, it's going to be okay. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like really impressive. Like I don't know. It like goes back to like the Old Republic trailers. Like those Old Republic trailers were so intense and amazing. And like I'm not bashing Old Republic. I played a little bit. It was fun, but the trailers, between the trailers and the game, there's not a lot of crossover there. It's very different. But you know, the trailers you enjoyed kind of as mini movies. At least I did, and watched them 1,000 times. So like, you know, I guess you can do the same with this and hope that the game is even in the ballpark of being something like this, or at least I'm assuming it shows off the concept of the game, which I like also. I mean, there's a lot of cool designs, a lot of cool, interesting characters, an Ugnaught and a freaking Droideka. That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people are saying in the chat, like, I would love to see this as like a TV show or a mini series or something. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, let's do a story set in the fighting pits and show us what life is like for those characters, how they get out, how they rise through the ranks, and how, you know, the Empire or the First Order or the Clone Wars, whatever, affected them. I think that was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool concept. I would want to watch more of that if it were something to watch more of instead of a mobile game or a Switch game.
What's funny about this is, like, you know, we were just going over, I think it was last week, what all the popular games are out there. And, you know, this is covering more of those bases because a lot of people are comparing this to Overwatch and Fortnite, which are two of the kind of cultural zeitgeist-like games that have swept through the tween demographics over the past like 5 years. So this is kind of like a Star Wars version of that. I'm having this kind of arena fight type setup, and this like PvP type setup. So I think that this is smart to cover that base, and then that just, you know, means that as they fill in the slots, it's more and more likely that they'll fill in a slot that we're really into, which is that really nice open world RPG spot and that we're looking for. So it's exciting that they're starting to check all the boxes off for the different types of Star Wars games that could exist, and they've gotten to the Fortnite like style game. I think this could be relatively popular. It just comes down to it having good mechanics. The only thing that I'm concerned about is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Overwatch and Fortnite are more next-gen games that have better graphics.
Right. They're like something you'd play on a PS5 or whatever.
Yeah.
PS4.
PS4. I think it was for PS4 and Xbox One.
Whereas this is Nintendo Switch and mobile, I think.
Yeah. Which the Switch is good because, you know, there's obviously a lot of really popular kind of party PvP games for Switch, like Super Smash Bros. Comes to mind as an example. So this could kind of be similar to that in some ways. I wonder, you know, if there's going to be a LAN element to this game or whatever they call it now, where you would link switches up to each other, or if it's all through an online service to play. Because it would be really fun if they had a Star Wars PvP that was like LAN, where you could just like have a bunch of people show up with their switches and then like all play each other and like on one screen. Like that would be a really cool party game.
Yeah, it would be. I know nothing about these other games. All I know is I want more of those trailers. I just want.
See, that's like me and the Old Republic. It's like, just give us more cinematic trailers, and can you make it 2 hours next time?
Yeah,
put it in theaters.
Yeah, I don't need the game. I just want more trailers. Just give me a trailer for nothing. I'll take it.
Absolutely.
Jeff, who knows definitely more about video games than all of us combined, says that there's really not much LAN happening anymore, so he thinks it's going to be all online. Which, I mean, that could still work. You can still probably get together in person with switches and log in all together online and play on the same server, potentially. That could be fun.
Yeah,
and I know Switch itself like has like, you know, a situation like take both, like either the side controllers like turn into like individual controllers you can play with somebody like in the room, which was cool too.
Yeah, that's the question, is whether or not it'll have that capability.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out. In the coming months as the Star Wars Hunters is released sometime next year. But yeah, I think with that, I think that's where we'll cut things off with the news, because we've got a lot of other stuff we want to do tonight, and there's a lot, and I think we should focus in on that because it is, as we said, it's our second 10th anniversary. No, not our 20th anniversary. Our second 10th anniversary. This is the 10th anniversary of the podcast, and I believe it's 10 years to the day, and not just to the day, 10 years to the day of the week. As well.
Whoa.
that the first episode of this show was released. I had no involvement in that. So I'm going to turn it over to the two of you, Chris and Ben, to tell us about the early days of the show, how it got started, what those early episodes were like, and what you feel you've learned since then.
Yeah. So, back then, I think we had just started a website, and we had
You were on the same time,
a
yeah.
few different social media accounts. I don't know if we were on Twitter yet. We probably were. We were definitely on Facebook.
I remember specifically the website was started April 10th of 2011, exactly a year after the Facebook page started. So that's happened, and then the podcast came along, August now.
Yeah. So we had that, and then we had forums as well.
I'm confused.
That we used. So that's kind of what the Underworld was before the podcast, was Facebook page, website, maybe a Twitter. Definitely a Twitter account.
Yeah, Twitter was not long after Facebook, I don't think.
Yeah, and then also forums. And I definitely had gotten into the Star Wars community online through listening to podcasts. There were several podcasts that I listened to back then. An OG version of the Force Cast, which is nothing like what the Force Cast is now. And then I listened to a podcast called the Sarlacc Pit Podcast that my friends Chris and Matt did. And then I sometimes listened as well to a podcast called the EU Cantina podcast that I forget everybody's names. I know one, Andy Loopy, was one of the hosts on that I'm friends with online.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. So those are the three ones that I would listen to regularly. And I just liked. I thought that because we were just talking to each other, everyone in the Underworld community, we were just mainly talking to each other in Facebook comment threads. Like we had like a discussion group and with forums, and that's the way we were interacting with each other, was through threads. I wanted to bring the community together a little bit more than that, and have it be closer, and have the relationships and conversations be more dynamic. So I felt like having a podcast would be a good way to do that. So what we did is we all learned how to use Skype and how to record Skype calls. We use this really old, super buggy program called CallGraph.
There's probably a CallGraph still on my computer somewhere, or a folder full of those stupid recordings.
CallGraph scares me because it would run automatically whenever we would start a Skype call. So most of the CallGraphs on my computers aren't even podcasts. They're just various conversations.
Oh my God.
Don't worry, all parties knew. It said you're being recorded. So we would do a multo CallGraph, or whatever the heck it was called, and record stuff. And originally the format of our show was we had several hosts, and we would bring on a guest every week that had just some type of personal project going on, either officially for Lucasfilm or for just Star Wars fandom in general. Like we had a lot of people on who were YouTubers, a lot of people on who were bloggers, reviewers, cosplayers, people on who built Lego, customized action figures, just all these cool projects. And pretty much every week we would have somebody on, and we'd just do a little interview with them for about like 30 minutes about what got them into Star Wars fandom, and then talk about whatever their project was. And then we'd also bring on like a lot of voice actors. Steven Stanton was in our chats a lot and on our show a lot. Dave Fennoy was the first.
I remember that. I remember listening to that. I wasn't there.
Yep, he was the first one on. We had Ashley Eckstein on pretty early as well in the show. I think at some point we had Kat Tabor on as well. I think that we had Anna Graves on.
Yep.
Lots of people from the original Clone Wars cast, which is super awesome. Brian Bailey mentions in the chat, at some point in the show we would take a lot of calls from listeners as well. That's kind of when we went live a few years later. We would do that, and then one of the things that we would do a lot of is we would get a lot of feedback we would ask people to comment on Facebook, and then we would read their comments on the show, and that would be the kind of spur for a lot of our discussions. So that's where Dominic came in, because Dominic was one of the frequent people that would leave comments, and he also wrote for our website at the time. So eventually we've slotted him in as one of the people to be a guest for our show, and then he just never left.
Yeah, you can't. If it's trying to get rid of me for 10 years and they haven't been able to. Yeah, I would rate you guys like essays that you would then be expected to read on the on the podcast with my thoughts on a Clone Wars episode or whatever else was going on at the time. And I remember listening to those shows back in the day and hearing all of those interviews and listening to all the comments be read, and it was a lot of fun, and I knew I wanted to get a little bit more involved. And at the time I thought, well, maybe I'll just get to be on an episode here or there. I write for the website. Maybe I can come on when there's a big news story. And then I just sort of wound up being a need for a new co-host at one point. And you guys said, come on in, be a regular, take that third spot. And I haven't left. I'm staying in this seat until you kick me out. So,
well, I recently said to someone that my preferred way of as horrible as it probably would look, my preferred way of dying is in the middle of a podcast.
That's the way to go. Okay, it's funny. Someone said I look bored. I'm not. I'm just thinking about the fact that early on this show, if you go back or if you remember somehow, I don't have a lot of memories of the original version of the show because I wasn't on it that much. Honestly, I really was not. I may have been on the first episode, and then I was in and out a lot. I remember listening to the show a lot because my life is crazy. It always has been. But over time, over the last 10 years, I've managed to fill this gap of say nothing else. Life, stay out of my way for 2 hours every Thursday night, and I can do this show. But early on, it was very different, and I come into this no experience. I'm not even sure I knew what a podcast was. I wasn't listening to a podcast. I just remember the first ever conversation I had with you, Chris. I think I did it over my iPad or something. I don't know how we did it. I don't know. There was no Facebook calls or whatever. You probably had to talk me through Skype. Yep. And then I talked to you for the first time. Yeah. And, it was very intimidating because I'd never done anything like that before, I knew you, but I didn't know you like I know now. Yeah. So it was very intimidating. And of course, being the socially awkward person that I kind of still am, it was very intimidating. But, and then you we got to do a podcast. I'm like, what's a podcast? What? I don't know about this. I don't know about this. I just be on air. People hear me talk. No. I don't want this. No, I'm not interested in this.
Ben's like, is that fancy there AM radio you got up there in the north?
You're not wrong. You're not. Well, seriously, I could back then I'd be like, hell no, I ain't doing no podcast. Are you serious? No.
I mean, it was really amazing. I was not one as a kid or a teenager to call people on the phone. I wasn't one of those kids. My mom was like that. My mom would hog the family phone and when she was a kid, and they would be yelling at her, get off the phone, stop talking to your friends. We need to make a phone call. But not me. I would always just, email people or over social media. I would talk to people. So it was a very surreal experience to log into Skype and call someone other than my sister to test it and talk to someone who was 1,000 miles away. Right. And I remember specifically where I was at that moment. I was in my basement because I was one of those trolls who lived in their basement for a long time. Very accurate. Yeah, I was in my basement, and I remember I would put my computer on the washer machine. And that was the desk that I would use. So I'm sitting there with my laptop plugged in. I had to unplug the washer machine and plug my laptop into the power outlet that the washer machine was plugged into.
It would have been bad if the machine was going and you would just been.
No, it was unplugged. It was unplugged. I would unplug it. And I remember, just being there down in the basement at some weird hour of the night. And calling up Ben and hearing that extremely thick Mississippi accent that is no longer there anymore.
And see, fun fact, do people know this is? I do this from a restaurant. I don't think they do. Jesse knows because I've but
now they do.
I do this in a restaurant. Okay, there's a restaurant right over there. This is a back room of the restaurant. It did not look like this when I started doing this. All right, especially when we started doing podcasts. It was a different color in here. There was no shelves. There was no Star Wars stuff. And I just remember doing this like from a TV tray. Like just like a little tiny little tray that enough to fit my computer on, and having this really bad, like I think it was a gaming mic that someone gave me. Really bad quality. If I wore it for like more than like 30 minutes, it really hurt my ears. It was bad. It was really bad. I'm glad I got an upgrade.
Our audio quality was so bad in the first year. We had multiple people. I mean, I started on my onboard speakers for my laptop. The first few episodes, I didn't have a mic at all. You had that gaming mic. I think a few of our other hosts had gaming mics. So we always had this thing that would happen the first year that we called a wampa, where there would just be this random feedback.
And B being the inexperienced one, I think we're all inexperienced, but like I was the least inexperienced out of everyone. I didn't know you needed to wear headphones.
Right.
All right. So like people will be like, get on and like, what's that echo? I'm like, I don't know. What echo? You're supposed to wear headphones. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been doing this for 3 episodes with just my speakers just blasting all the audio.
It was a good 30 minutes of getting on Skype and trying to get rid of all the echoes and weird noises before we're like, okay, maybe we can record the show. And then we'd record it and we'd have to edit out a good 20 minutes out of each show of just random stuff going wrong.
So when I started my very first episode was December 26th, 2011, aka Boxing Day, which is how the Boxing Day show tradition began. And when I first started, I was using, back in the day, you could buy like a mic for your computer that was supposed to go on your desk. It was supposed to be like a business thing, and it looked like a pen sticking out of a base, basically, and you would talk into that. At the time, it seemed like high technology, and I would record on my family's computer, which was just just outside of the kitchen. And not in the first episode, but in one of the early episodes I was on, at one point we had to stop the show because my mom was putting away dishes and she was putting away pots and pans. And so all you could hear was the clanging of the pots and pans.
Oh, that's awkward.
So that, when you listen to our shows now and, oh, look, there's a little delay, or Ben's internet craps out for a second and we play the Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy theme. It's really nothing compared to what it used to be, what these things used to sound like. It's wild. It's crazy how things change and how things evolve. So we wanted to, like I said off the top, we've got some videos that we've recorded over the years, even though we've just started doing video regularly. We've had a couple of false starts at doing some video content, and we've done some special video content for stuff. Again, most of this was designed with the idea that it would also be released in an audio format, so it will sound fine on on your audio only episode. So if you're listening on Spotify or whatever, should sound good. But one of the first places that we did some of this video recording, and it was a big moment for the Star Wars Underworld in general, was Star Wars Celebration 6 in Orlando in 2012. So this is just in our first year, really, because Celebration 6 was August. Podcast started in September, so really we've had a year to be doing the show, and all of a sudden, some of us were going to actually be in the same place, and we could record some content. And Chris, you and I were both there. Ben, sadly, was not, as will be a regular theme.
Yeah, Force Ghosts don't show up on video, unfortunately.
Yeah, this will be a regular theme throughout a lot of this content that Ben,
and not just because I wasn't there,
it.
just because I was the cameraman for a lot of this.
Yeah.
It's also true. And because the fact is, I'm more comfortable behind the camera a lot of times anyway, and especially back then. So like, it was easy. Like, you want to hold the camera? Sure. I don't want to be in front of it.
Yeah. And when we describe our celebration experience, it's nothing like what we do now. If you met us in Chicago or Orlando or London, what we were doing in 2012 was very ad hoc compared to what we do at the celebrations now. We didn't have a booth. I think I had a press pass, which I was extremely excited about. I was very proud of myself. And I did get to go to a couple of press conferences, which I was like, this is incredible. But we were also joined by our friend Trey. Regular listeners will probably have heard of Trey. He's popped in and out over the years, and he had been able to get this really nice camera and a pretty decent microphone. I think he'd gotten it from his school because he lived locally down in Orlando, and so he was able to be all set up. And we recorded a whole bunch of videos from Celebration Orlando, and I've cut together a little super cut of some of those videos and some of the moments that we captured on film or on megabytes or.
It was almost
gigabytes.
old enough to be filmed.
Yeah, it's almost old enough to be filmed, but it's not. That we experienced. So you'll see some of us talking to the camera. You'll see some stuff that we filmed, like Clone Wars, part of a Clone Wars trailer. You'll see a moment from one of those press conferences that I went to. And bear in mind, this was 2012. Because there is a moment in this where somebody, not one of us, but somebody in it, says something that will be super relevant starting in 2019.
Interesting.
They said it something, 2 words that in 2012 were like, oh, that's interesting. But in hindsight, it's like, whoa, I wasn't expecting to hear those words in this video. So let's start it off. Let's have a look and a listen back to the sights and sounds of Star Wars Celebration 6.
Hello, everybody. This is Chris from the Star Wars Underworld, and this is my second Orlando travel vlog. And you're probably not looking at me right now. You're probably just staring at that because that's the really awesome thing behind me. That is the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida, with the gigantic Star Wars posters on it. There's a big, I don't know, what do you call those things? Posters, things hanging down?
Banners?
Yeah, like banners. They're like gigantic tapestry banners. The one has Darth Vader on it. The one on the right has Yoda on it. And I think they're the same images that are on the tickets.
So this morning, me and Chris took in the Inside the Clone Wars tech panel, which was awesome. Got to see that Embo clip from Season 5 again. So cool. And then I went and checked out the Fettastic panel with Jeremy Bulloch, Daniel Logan, and Dickie Beer talking about playing Boba Fett, and that was pretty cool too.
Let's roll the new trailer. It's a long one, so sit down.
My first celebration too, so it's like completely overwhelming. It's just like I can't even focus on one thing. There's like so many things that are.
I know this thing should be like at least a week to 10 days because everywhere you look, there's always something.
Dominic Jones, Star Wars Underworld. You mentioned earlier you would often have a bunch of sounds for George to pick. Do you recall if there were any that you really wished you had chosen but you didn't?
Absolutely.
What's the awesomest thing that you've seen so far?
See Baby Yoda.
Ooh, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much. She says Baby Yoda. She wants to see Baby Yoda.
What?
Baby Yoda.
Darth McKenna called it? What?
Oh my gosh.
Baby Yoda.
I've not seen that clip in like 10 years.
Darth McKenna probably is married with kids now.
Whoa.
Wow.
I told you. There were 2 words in that thing.
Dang.
That you weren't expecting to hear in something from 2012.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah.
Oh my God.
We're such children back then. Well, look at us. Look at in those clips. It's ridiculous.
So young, so adorable.
It was quite a trip down memory lane to look back at that stuff and to
that was great.
As soon as I heard the words Baby Yoda, I couldn't believe it. And we did intersperse some StarWars.com footage in there as well, just to show what it was like to be there at Celebration 6. Okay, so that was Celebration 6. Very fun time. Very, very fun looking back on it. Next up, what we're going to move from 2012 and move into 2013. 2013 was a big year for conventions, a big year for us. 2 that we want to highlight in particular are Celebration Europe and AllCon in Texas. And Chris, you went to AllCon, and there were a couple of pretty cool Star Wars celebrities there. And one is somebody who we've mentioned already a couple of times, Mr. Stephen Stanton, voice of Grand Moff Tarkin, or Admiral Tarkin, as he was known back then on the Clone Wars, and Colonel
Wasn't it
Meeper.
Captain Tarkin?
It was Captain Tarkin at first.
Yeah, it's Captain, then Admiral, and then he was also Colonel Meeber Gascon, and he's been many other characters since then, including AP5 on Rebels. He had a recurring role on Resistance. He was Admiral Raddus, the voice of Admiral Raddus in Rogue One, and you sat down with him at AllCon to chat about everything that he was doing at the time. So here's that clip.
Hello, everybody. This is Chris from the Star Wars Underworld, and I'm reporting from AllCon 2013 in Dallas, Texas. And I'm here with the voice of Tarkin and many other characters from the Clone Wars TV series, Mr. Stephen Stanton. How you doing, Stephen?
Hi, Chris. I'm doing great. It's good to see you.
Great to see you. And how are you enjoying the con so far?
Wow. Well, today's the last day, so I'm a little worn out, but I'm doing great. It's been a lot of fun. It's our first time here at AllCon, and it really is different from. It really is an AllCon. It's not just Star Wars or Star Trek. It's really a little bit of everything, which is kind of great. There's like Daleks, and there's TARDISes, and I saw Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes last night. It was one of the best costumes I've seen at the whole con. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's a fun mismatch of everything. So, of course, we started out this con with the premiere of Pink 5 by Trey Stokes, and we talked to him the other day. How do you think that went?
I think it went really well for a sneak preview, where you're seeing people, an audience is seeing something for the very first time. I think it went great. There was everybody was laughing, I think, at the right points, which is great because Pink 5 is a comedy. and it was the first time I had seen a lot of the footage from the last part of it. I had seen bits and pieces, so even I was surprised and I was laughing. There was a lot of stuff in there that I absolutely didn't expect. I thought Trey did a marvelous job with that.
Yeah, no, it was great, and of course we can't wait for everyone to see that. So moving on to the Clone Wars, of course that just wrapped up, and you played a pretty pivotal role in the last arc there.
Oh yes, Admiral Tarkin was a bit of he was a hard case in that one, wasn't he? Por Ahsoka Tano. Yeah, it was that was a pretty what's the word I'm looking for? I'm kind of speechless about it. That season finale was really something that I don't think we've seen on the Clone Wars up to this date. It all of a sudden started to really look like not the prequel anymore. It started to look like the original trilogy. It started to sound like it. I mean, there was so much in there that reminded you of Star Wars. The least of which was Tarkin. It was just, the music, the surroundings, everything about it, all the, the villainy that was going on. I think it was. If I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and watch those last 3 episodes. I think you're going to be really blown away by that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think really that arc has gotten so much positive reaction. Like some of the stuff that you've done, it's been pretty experimental, like the Gascon stuff.
It was very experimental. But, that like I've said before, one of the great things about having a television series is that you have more than just 2 hours to explore a particular story. You have an entire season. So you get to tell the kinds of stories that we did in the droid arc with Colonel Gascon that you wouldn't necessarily see in a movie, or it wouldn't be appropriate to see in a movie because it's, maybe too far off, whatever the main story is. But here, because the Clone Wars is telling the story of, everything that happened during that time period, I thought it was great that George Lucas, Dave Filoni, Brent Friedman, who wrote those things, took that big risk and told that story, and I'm so happy to have been a part of it.
Oh yeah, the people who liked it really liked it because it was so out there.
And the people who didn't like it really didn't like it. But that's okay, because there's no way that you're going to make something that everybody is going to like. A lot of people watch Clone Wars because they like to see, the lightsaber battles, and some people like it for, everybody has, someone may be a fan of Ahsoka Tano. Everyone has the different things they like about it. But once again, because Clone Wars covers so much ground, there's always an episode that has something in it that you like. You'll find it,
Oh yeah, definitely. And as you said, the last arc, a lot of people like that, and probably that's because it was so similar to the original trilogy, and that's why we all like Star Wars in the first place. Something specifically, the dynamics between Tarkin and Padme really reminded me of the dynamics between Tarkin and Leia.
Right, there was a lot of that sort of, you could see, when we started doing that arc, Dave Filoni was telling me, he says, in this, it's been 2 seasons since we've really seen Tarkin, since the Citadel trilogy, and in that one, we were, the character, at least from the standpoint that I was approaching it, was he can't be the villain that he is in Episode 4, A New Hope, because why would anybody be working with him? He'd be too villainous, too nasty. It wouldn't make any sense. Why would anyone say, I don't want to work with this guy, he's terrible, boot him out of the army or whatever. So in that one, he was, working with, but just barely tolerant of the Jedi and what they were doing, disagreeing constantly. And this one, Dave Filoni says, we're going to see him do his military power grab. Some time has gone by. He's been promoted to admiral. He's really starting to get full of himself. And now we're going to finally see the beginnings of that Tarkin that we see in A New Hope. So I really wanted to change the voice as well. The dialogue was already different. It was becoming that more sort of like, that staccato, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And you could see that one scene in the beginning of the last episode where he's the hologram in front of the Jedi Council. It's like, oh yes, Jedi tradition, and that whole thing in the courtroom where he does the single hand clap, it's very kind of like, oh, you just want to hit the guy, And actually there was, that scene in the courtroom, it's too bad. I think the season, the season finale could have been an hour-long special. I think the story was that complex. There was a scene, that courtroom scene that we did was actually quite a bit longer. We actually had to shorten it for time, but there was a whole sequence in there where, in the beginning, where in the Jedi Council chambers, where Tarkin comes on and says, "You really should boot Ahsoka out so that we can have an unbiased trial." In the courtroom, there was a whole section where he says, well, if she's so innocent, why did the Jedi boot her out? And everyone's like, oh my gosh, he's turned the tables on us, that rat, So we're really getting to see Tarkin turn into the guy that we all know and love and hate.
And it'll be really interesting to see where it goes from here. Now, of course, the future of the Clone Wars, we don't know exactly where it's going to land, but all we know is you guys are still producing episodes.
Right. We've been working on season 6 for quite some time. There definitely are a lot of stories still remaining to be told in Clone Wars, but the logistics of the where and when and all that stuff, that hasn't just put into place yet. And I'm with you guys. I'm going to find out when everybody else finds out.
Well, hopefully it ends up somewhere where everybody has an opportunity to see these episodes. It's going to be awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Chris, and I hope you have fun here at the rest of the con. I know I'm going to still actually hopefully get a chance to walk around and see something. I don't usually get to do that, but I'm going to see a little bit of the con today. So,
all right, thank you.
All right, see you later, Chris.
May the Force be with you.
And also with you. Wait, no.
I love it. I love it.
I there's a lot I love in that clip. One of which is you guys talking about the future of the Clone Wars, because it's in that bubble between the end of season 5 and when they actually announced that the show was winding down.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, and I don't think either of you at the time could have predicted what would have happened when things how things actually shook out. But I love listening to Steven talk because he's so candid about everything. He really takes you into the room and the recording of those episodes and behind the scenes of those episodes. He talks about the reaction, yes, but he also He's telling you about deleted scenes from the episodes, telling you about how the episode could have been way longer, how much more there could have been. What Dave Filoni was telling him really was his motivation for Tarkin in those scenes. It's really incredible. They a lot of times you hear this with the actors now. They really are so guarded about everything that they have to say, and they won't say anything. And so it's really refreshing to hear someone like Steven just going like, yeah, no, this is what we were thinking. This is what we were doing. This is what wound up on the cutting room floor. He's really one of a kind in that way.
Yeah. No, he's amazing, and I don't really know. I mean, there's so many people on the Clone Wars cast that has been amazing with their engagement with the fan community. But so it's hard to pick one person and say that's the person at the top. But if there was a tie at the top for a few people, he's there. Like the way that he's engaged with the community through talking with people regularly on social media for 10 years to being on so many different podcasts and YouTube channels and meeting people at conventions, like, is absolutely top notch. Like, he's so incredibly passionate about his job and what he does. And it's his whole life. And he's so passionate about sharing that with the people that consume his content and building a relationship with the people that enjoy his work. There's just not more could be said about how great he is as an artist, and then as a person.
Absolutely.
And all the work as well that he and everybody behind the scenes on his team does for charity as well.
For sure.
Just adds to that. So we've been so incredibly blessed to have him on our show many times and in our chats, and be able to talk to him and his team at various conventions. And it's been one of the highlights of the history of our show.
Yeah, they've been a great friend to us over the years, and they've opened some doors for us that otherwise we might not have been able to open. So Steven and his whole team are just amazing.
You know what? I have a story I've never told about Steven.
I love Steven stories.
I feel like
later.
there was something that was holding me back from telling the story for a while. I felt like, okay, maybe now the statute of limitations is out and I can actually tell this, because it involved another person. I won't mention the other person, but it was nothing bad. It's just it was a weird thing that happened where we were doing the podcast. I don't know exactly. This was within the year after the Star Wars Underworld began, after I created the Facebook page. And in that thing that happened in that time period, I had not told my family about the Star Wars Underworld. It wasn't intentional. It was just, I meant to bring it up. I meant to bring it up at dinner or whatever. And it just never happened. And then it kept spiraling out of control and getting really big, and, became a podcast and a website, and, Steven Stanton's like hanging out with us, like being really outgoing, coming on our show, like being like our one of our, biggest friends, like, and shout out to Steven, like, for being just amazing, continuing to be amazing. But back then, especially for us who were just starting out, just getting into this, we weren't, a big deal in the fandom. There were plenty of podcasts that were bigger than us and doing, a lot bigger things, and still are. But Steven found time for everyone, including us, which you just can't thank him enough. But he specifically found time and he invited me. He said, "Hey, I'm doing a con this weekend, like literally this weekend, just in a few days. I will fly you out and we'll do this. And if you want to come out." And I was like, okay, that sounds awesome. I'm not sure I can make that work. And I couldn't make it work, but I'm like, oh God, tonight, like, I get this message from Steven, like, personally, like in the evening. I'm like, I have to tonight break the news to my parents. I have to lay all this out to them, explain what's been going on, because for the past year they had been like, what's he doing on the computer all the time? What's he doing in the back room back there? You know,
you kids with your internet, what are you doing over there?
Yeah.
You talking to strangers.
So I find a way, ironically, we're at home and I walk in and my dad is watching, I think it was Pawn Stars, and there's someone is talking about a Return of the Jedi poster. And I'm like, this is perfect. This is like, what is happening here in my life? So I sat down and I had to go through the whole process of explaining, Dad, I started a Facebook page about a year ago, but then it kind of got out of control and it's a big thing now that I'm involved in. And then
I'd love to hear this story from your dad's perspective, what he thought when you started that.
I really should.
Because if you begin that whole conversation with, well, I started this Facebook page and now it's out of control, it sounds like it's most likely to go one of two ways. One is, and now I'm moving to Australia to live with my fiance, or B, the mob is after me and they want money. So
yeah. Okay, so it did go something like that because I think my mom was like already asleep at that point. So my dad had to break the news to my mom, and my mom recalls it as, your dad told me you met someone on the internet. I'm like, it's not quite how it works.
It's not like how it sounds, I swear.
It's not what you think.
So yeah, it was a wild 24 hours. But thanks, Stephen, for giving me a chance to let my parents in on the secret that was not an intentional secret. And thankfully, my parents have been incredibly supportive of this whole shebang ever since.
Absolutely. That's amazing. That is an amazing story. I love that story so much. That is terrific. So let's keep going, Chris. Unless you have anything you want to say about Alcon, any spectacular memories of that day?
This is where I met Zach Arnold for the first time.
Yeah, I think
Yeah. So that's the other big memory from that.
Nice.
Because, with all my travels, I always end up meeting people before everybody else meets each other. So I think I might have met Zach before Ben met Zach.
Yeah, I think you did. You actually did.
Yeah.
It was right in Zach's neck of the woods. It was in Alcon, in Texas.
It was like 40 minutes from where he lives. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's terrific. You met both members of the IPC without them ever having met each other. That's terrific. So we'll keep going because the other big event of 2013 was Star Wars Celebration Germany. So this was another big one because this was I went over to cover that story, to cover that event, and I was the only member of the North American team to go over for that one, and wound up being one of the only people actually covering the con, which was very strange.
One man with an iPhone.
Yeah, I went over there with my iPhone and just started live tweeting events, and this was just before the whole live tweeting thing became something that everybody did, and as a result, wound up I actually got props from Pablo Hidalgo. I ran into Pablo later and he saw that I was wearing a Star Wars Underworld t-shirt and he's like, "Hey, are you the guy that's been live tweeting everything?" I'm like, "I am." And he's like, "Good job." I was like, "Thank you, Pablo. Thank you." But there's somebody else. If you've listened to the show for the last 10 years, there's an unofficial, sometimes official fourth member of our team. And Celebration Germany was crucial for getting this guy on board. And what I'm going to show you, we don't actually have any video of our own from Celebration Germany, but I have this video. It's from one of the StarWars.com dispatches, I think they called them, from Celebration Europe. And what they did was they had everybody in it say, "May the Force be with you," in their own language. And listeners or viewers may recognize the person that they turned to represent the entire English language.
Que la force soit avec vous.
Möge die Macht mit dir sein.
Que la forza sia con voi.
Que la force soit avec toi.
May the force be with you.
Yeah.
That's soon to be our senior British correspondent, Kieran Duggan, making his appearance in the StarWars.com video. Yeah. Kieran and I think we'd known each other for a little bit because he'd done a little bit of writing for the website before Celebration Germany. And so one of the things I was looking forward to was meeting him and meeting our other friend, Irish Chris, who both had done some contributing to the website at the time. And we had a little meetup during a celebration London Germany, and it was a lot of fun. And that was where the Clone Wars Strikes Back had its unofficial what's the word? I don't even know what the word is, but the unofficial beginning of the Clone Wars Strikes Back, I think, of the celebration. Yeah, there you go. I think of Celebration Germany as the beginning of that. And yeah, so I couldn't not include Kieran because he's somebody who's been a huge part of everything that we've done for the last 10 years, co-hosting shows, sometimes staying up till ridiculous hours to be the fourth member of our show or the third member of our show, and it's unfortunate he can't be as involved as he used to be because of time zone differences, but he is still somebody who is very much part of the crew here at Star Wars Underworld. And I spoke to him last week. He seems game to get back into this some way, somehow, and maybe we'll pre-record
we'd love to have him
something.
back.
Yeah, maybe we'll pre-record something or something that we'll get Kieran back on the show sooner rather than later. But 2013 turns to 2014. That's right. We're still in the fourth year of the show at this point. And that was another big year for us because it was our first New York Comic Con. Or actually, no, it's our second because I think, Chris, you went the year before.
Yeah, I went for like several hours.
Yeah.
I did it as a day trip. I got up super early in the morning, and I think I got up at like 4 a.m. and I drove down in 2013, and then I was there for a little bit. Got to see Ashley Eckstein again, and then I left at like 8 p.m. and then drove back home and got home at like midnight.
It's a pretty exciting day. That's a pretty good day. But 2014, that was our first full New York Comic Con, and it was the first time you and I actually had seen each other since Celebration Orlando, which was pretty wild. But we went down there. You and I were there again. Ben didn't make the trip, and we did some interviews while we were down there. We interviewed, as you'll see, one of the editors from the Del Rey Star Wars team, Shelley Shapiro, about what was going on in Star Wars books and Star Wars publishing, because that was a very exciting time. That was when they had just announced the big canon reset to reset the canon to make space for episode 7.
Created legends in canon. That wasn't a thing before then.
Yeah. So that you're going to see that interview. I think this was the first interview I'd ever done on camera, and boy, can you tell. Boy, can you tell. You will see in this clip. I am nervous. I do not know where to hold the microphone. It's an experience. It's an experience. But you'll see that. But before that, there's a little bit of craziness at the beginning of this clip that I had forgotten about until this afternoon. Enjoy.
Welcome to the shortest Star Wars Underworld podcast ever. Live from New York Comic Con. May the Force be with you.
Hey Star Wars fans, we're here at New York Comic Con with Del Rey editor-at-large Shelley Shapiro. So Shelley, how have you been enjoying Comic Con so far?
It's great. The enthusiasm is awesome. Everybody's excited. How could you not enjoy it?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we're standing in front of you guys' awesome display of the upcoming covers for some of these novels. We got Heir to the Jedi, Lords of the Sith, and of course Tarkin is coming up next month.
Side,
it's over on that side. Which one of these are you most excited for?
Oh, all of them.
All of
what
them?
What can I say? Because one of the wonderful things, they're all so different.
Yeah.
But they're also great. And each is a little different insight into this era we haven't explored before.
Yeah.
So I have no favorite. You're asking a mother to choose between her children.
Yeah, I guess.
No, I think this is a really extraordinary lineup of books.
Awesome.
All strong, all exciting.
Awesome. And so we've heard a lot lately about the Lucasfilm Story Group. So just kind of curious how the process has changed, if it has at all, between these new canon novels and the old Legends novels.
It hasn't changed a lot. The main thing is that, and the wonderful thing is that the books and the comics, games, none of that is considered sort of second tier anymore.
Great.
So we still talk about what we want to do, and we get stuff approved, but we get a few more ideas back from them, and I think than we used to. But in terms of practicality, nothing's really changed except this great feeling where we're really appreciated and really made a part of the family in a full way, which makes a difference. You know, we know now that if we put something in a book, they've approved it, and that's now not going to be shot down at any point or contradicted at any point. Well, we hope.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's been really cool, and of course the response to John Jackson Miller's The New Dawn has seemed great. I absolutely adored it. It was a great novel. Have you guys been seeing lots of positive response from the fans about this?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. That's what we want to hear. And of course, Tarkin is coming up. It's the new James Luceno novel. Mm-hmm. And James is famous for his Darth Plagueis novel that from a few years ago. Will this kind of be doing the same thing, covering Tarkin's whole life? Or
Well, that was our idea.
The
idea was, I mean, Jim hasn't just done bad guys. He's getting a name for it, but he's done, like he did the two, I love them, the two Han Solo side stories in New Jedi Order. And but what he did with Darth Plagueis was just special, bringing a mysterious character to life, and particularly Palpatine too, you know, to life in a way that hadn't been done before. So we basically asked him to do the same for Tarkin, and he jumped at it, you know, because Tarkin is fascinating. He's the only non-Force user who seems to control Vader, and what's that all about? So yeah, you'll see him as a kid. I mean, you're not going to see happy little. Well, maybe you will see happy little family scenes. You see him as a kid, and you see him coming up in the ranks in pieces, and it just sheds a new light on him and shows who he is and why he's so powerful. Awesome. It's a really good book.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And lastly, I have to ask about the upcoming Asajj Ventress novel, Dark Disciple. I won't ask for any plot details. I'm just curious. You know, it's based on old Clone Wars scripts. Did you get to read the Clone Wars scripts, and how exciting was it for you guys to get to tell those stories?
It's really a lot of fun to get to tell something fresh that hasn't been told before.
Yeah.
Because the scripts exist, but they haven't been produced.
Yeah.
So even if they had, you know, when you try to turn a 22-minute episode or even a bunch of them into a novel, you have this huge opportunity to bring depth and complexity to it that you can't do. I mean, that's what Dave Filoni says. You can only do certain things in 22 minutes.
Yeah.
How is it more exciting than anything else? Not really. It's all great. You know, it's all a lot of fun. It's a new opportunity, and Asajj Ventress became such a cool character. Yeah. So I'm excited to deal with her. And Voss I like anyway, so don't forget him. He's an integral part of this story too.
Yes, it's going to be great. So thank you so much for talking with us today, Shelley.
Thank
you. We'll just leave that image up there for the entirety of the show. Ben, you seemed particularly tickled at one point during that video when she spoke about how everything would be canon and nothing would be contradicted ever again.
Yeah, that one was like, oh, that hasn't aged well.
Yeah.
Oopsie. Well, I guess we should have saw that coming, but whatever.
Yeah, probably. That's. What a time! That was a lot of fun, and it was my first interview on camera, and like I said, you could tell, but we had fun, and I feel like that's one of those interviews I'd like to do again if I could go back in time and ask some more questions, some follow-up questions, but it was fun, and New York Comic Con has been one of my favorite events to go to, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go this year, and I'm kind of bummed about that. But it's a pretty great event, and I missed it dearly last year when it wasn't on, and will likely miss it dearly again this year, even though it is on. We will continue with our trip down memory lane. This next this next clip brings us into the year 2015. 2015, we finally made it to the year The Force Awakens came out. And this next clip is real special because it's the first time we ever did a podcast all together in the same space. That's right. It's Celebration Anaheim time. And we for Celebration Anaheim, we applied to be on the podcast stage. This was something that was brand new for Celebration Anaheim. It's the first and as yet only time we've been on the official lineup for anything related to Star Wars Celebration. All of our subsequent podcasts have been, what's the word? Unofficial? Yeah. That's not quite it. Contraband, not it either, but we've more just sort of set up shop on the show floor and said, we're doing a show at this time, come and join us.
And they haven't stopped us yet, so.
Yeah, they haven't stopped us yet. But the reason why, I'll tell you why we haven't gone for the podcast stage again since then, is not because we had a bad experience necessarily. It's just that we can't control the scheduling. Obviously, the people who make the schedule have to control the scheduling. And as a result, we were up against the Star Wars Rebels Season 2 panel. So I kept running into people all weekend at Celebration Anaheim, and I would say to them, and they would say to me, oh my God, I love the show. And I'd say, thank you. That's really kind. I'm glad you like it. Are you coming to the live show on Saturday morning? And they would say, no, we're going to the Rebels panel. And I would say, fair enough. I understand.
That's understandable.
Yeah, completely
you picked
understand.
Rebels over us. I would have probably done the same thing.
Yeah, I completely understand. But we had a lot of fun with the people that did show up. We love the people that did show up. And we did this podcast where we talked about what we'd seen at Celebration so far, and we finally revealed something that people had been wanting to see for a long time, and we've already talked a little bit about it tonight. So enjoy this clip.
Force Awakens. We've seen Battlefront. We've still got Rebels, and whatever they're doing at the closing ceremonies tomorrow. So it's like every day they plan this out perfectly. Every day they've got something big coming for us, and it's just worked out perfectly. I mean, this is the best celebration so far. I think all of us that have been to previous ones can pretty much agree. And
not that I can talk. This is my first one.
This is the first one. So yeah, it's your first one. How mind-blowing has it been?
Pretty mind-blowing.
Pretty mind-blowing.
Like majorly mind-blowing. Like every day, every hour, like just one after the other. I mean, just like getting here. I got the full experience, being in line all night.
Yeah.
And doing that. That was, grueling but amazing because it totally paid off. No regrets because that show they put on at the Force Awakens panel was just absolutely amazing. Yeah. And just everything since then, just, you're talking about, the Battlefront trailer, the Bad Batch, and Revenge of the Sith last night.
Ben had to click over to his notes because it's been so...
You had to give it away, didn't you?
Yeah, this is what happens is you're at Celebration, you've done all these things, but you're so tired that they all sort of start to blend together. You're like, what have I done again?
I started forgetting things because, like, the last thing I saw was just so amazing, and it's just like,
forgot everything else.
What happened yesterday? What happened an hour ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, just wait till all the celebrations start blurring together, especially when they're in the same location. Like Orlando, the two in Orlando are like interchangeable almost to me at this point. A couple of significant differences, but Well, one other thing we saw that was really cool yesterday was the Revenge of the Sith world premiere in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I don't know how you guys. I don't know. People generally are not too hot on 3D, but this was impressive, most impressive. It really, they captured it in a way that most movies don't. And I think this is, again, it's kind of like the Clone Wars, where with the Clone Wars, George was just throwing money at it. I think he did that with this as well, because you look at, a Marvel movie or DC movie in 3D, and it looks okay. But what they managed to do with Revenge of the Sith, and I think, and if they can do this with The Force Awakens, then it will be well worth seeing it in 3D as well, is they managed to just you almost feel like the only way I can describe it, and I'm sorry, I have to do this. I'm going to make a Doctor Who reference at a Star Wars convention. I think this is maybe illegal, so please nobody throw me out. But it for those of you that have seen The Day of the Doctor, it's kind of like Time Lord art, because you're kind of looking at it and there's the screen, and then everything feels like it's happening way beyond the screen, and so you're kind of looking into this snapshot of reality. And I think they pull it off so well, and I really hope they come to their senses and put those out in theaters so that everybody can see them, because they
I love just certain scenes. Certain scenes you sometimes with 3D sometimes you forget is 3D, but like other scenes, like one that stuck out to me was when they walk into the Invisible Hand, they walk into the Chancellor's room, and you see the Chancellor, and you see the balcony, and you see the outer, the space going on outside. It looks like it's a real window looking out into space.
Yeah.
And then you see them walk up, and they're right there. It's just,
well, the whole Battle of Coruscant, right, is just done so brilliantly, and it looks really good in 3D. And so hopefully, I think Prime Focus was the company that did that. If they can get them to do The Force Awakens, then we are in for a real treat with that. But
I tend to not really like 3D, but I did really like that. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, they did. They did a fantastic job.
Yeah. All right. So,
what? Oh, yes, right, I forgot. We had a plan, and I blew it. Okay, those of you that have listened to the podcast before, about, well, we'll put the blame on him, his obsession with barbecue sauce. And
my obsession.
Yeah.
It wasn't my choice to be obsessed with this.
Well, yeah, it's a problem, Ben. We're gonna get you the help you
need.
need.
I know.
But
I'm checking into rehab after this.
Yeah, but I did hear a rumor that there might be some barbecue sauce here.
This is what I'm usually doing when you can't see me.
Bam! There it is.
There it is.
The legendary barbecue sauce right here. And it says mild on it. Okay, good.
You start chugging, it's not going to be too bad.
I was tempted to just, you guys tape the lid shut. That'd take too much work.
So whoever chugs that whole thing gets a prize.
Yeah. So who wants to try it? It's fun to finally get to see it. This is one of those things that, knowing Ben for as long as we have, we're always hearing about this barbecue sauce, this legendary barbecue sauce, and now it's here, and I'm trying to figure out how to get this over the border back into Toronto. So,
how about that?
Oh my God!
How about that?
I forgot we had footage of that. Honestly, but now it's all coming back to me.
I can't believe we've changed so much in just 6 years. I'm like, oh, this is going to start looking kind of modern now.
Nope.
Celebration Anaheim. Nope.
Yeah, it's really weird. Really weird.
It's 2016. I feel like that's when we start to approach our modern looks. But 2015, children. That was fun. And I love the video on that. There's like multiple angles. We look like we're actually like doing something professional. It's quite something. It's a lot of fun. And it's good to know that you two still dance exactly the same way.
It doesn't change because it's still awful.
Oh man, and we did actually eat some of the barbecue sauce. We weren't just carrying that around as a prop.
It was specifically requested by Steven Stanton, who wanted barbecue sauce. And we're like, okay, we'll oblige you. And then I flew out. Chris was driving around the country at that point, put it in his car, kept it in his car for like 2 months. And then I finally got there and reunited. And then I had to carry that thing around for like all day. Not fun, but it was fun to deliver it finally to Steven Stanton, who seemed to really enjoy it.
Yeah, we one night after the convention, we were sitting around the hotel pool, and we had some food, and we busted open the barbecue sauce, and Steven was there, and his crew was all there, and we enjoyed it. And then were promptly kicked out of the pool by the hotel staff.
They told us like 3 times the pool was closed.
Yeah, they told us it was closed. We said, all right, we'll leave in a minute. And then we stayed for another 20. They came down and said, no, really, the pool is closed. We said, all right, we'll leave for real this time. Stayed for another 5. And they said, no, seriously, leave now. And we said, okay, goodbye. So that was fun. That was fun. But yeah, that was Celebration Anaheim. That was a surreal experience because that was all of us together. Kieran was there. You saw Jake Damon in there making an appearance, taking some pictures. Irish Chris was there. Trey was there. We had everybody was there. It was a really surreal experience, and we spent all that time lining up for the overnight panel and experiencing that for the first time, or the overnight line for the Force Awakens panel, experiencing that. And as you heard, we went and saw Revenge of the Sith in 3D, and it was such a surreal weekend. That's one I look back on so very fondly. Another weekend I look back on very fondly from 2015 was D23. D23. This has become another one of our conventions that we frequent. It's sort of like Celebration, D23, New York Comic Con, and San Diego Comic Con. You're very likely to find at least one of us there most years. And this was our first D23. We went because, of course, The Force Awakens was there. They didn't actually reveal much from The Force Awakens. I will tell you what they revealed in a second, but the big announcement there was the announcement of the new Star Wars-themed land that would be opening in Orlando and Anaheim, and of course we now know that as Galaxy's Edge. But from The Force Awakens, the big reveal, in addition to just having the cast there, which was a lot of fun, was the Drew Struzan special poster that they revealed. And they actually gave everybody one of those posters at the convention. Or everybody who was at that panel. So we left that panel, which I believe we also lined up overnight for. This was that was a summer of overnight lines, because I think we'd also done one at San Diego Comic Con as well. So we didn't get any sleep in 2015 is what I'm saying. But we got our poster from that panel, and we immediately went outside the Anaheim Convention Center, and we shot a breakdown of everything that was in the poster. So what you're about to see are some August 2015 era analysis and predictions from myself about what we can expect in The Force Awakens based exclusively on this poster. Enjoy.
Hey Star Wars fans, Dominic from the Star Wars Underworld here. I am outside the Anaheim Convention Center, where right now the D23 Expo is going on, and we just got out of the big Disney Studios live action preview event where they were previewing all of their upcoming slate of films, including Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. And among the reveals there was this brand new poster created by legendary artist Drew Struzan. Now, Drew Struzan has done posters for all the Star Wars films, and he has come out of retirement to do one for Episode 7. So obviously the poster itself is gorgeous. Couple of things we want to point out. Of course, Han Solo down the corner representing the old cast, representing the legacy characters. We've got Kylo Ren with his amazing crossguard lightsaber, which we learned just recently he built himself. Of course, front and center is Daisy Ridley's Rey, using that with that big long staff that we know she's going to use to fight in the film. And of course, over on the far side, we've got John Boyega's Finn. Now, the really interesting thing about this poster is that we see Finn holding a lightsaber, and this is the first time we've seen any of the good guys in any of the Episode 7 material holding a lightsaber. The only lightsaber we'd seen up until this point was Kylo Ren's. And if you look closely, it definitely appears to be Luke Skywalker's original lightsaber, the one that was passed down to him by Anakin Skywalker, and he lost in the duel with Darth Vader on Cloud City. And of course, we saw that lightsaber in the trailer. Now, for those of you that were at Star Wars Celebration, you'll remember in the Force Awakens exhibit, there was a piece of concept art for Finn where he's wearing this same jacket and he had that lightsaber in his pocket. So now we know more or less for sure he's at some point going to take that lightsaber and he's going to fight with it. Now, whether he fights Kylo Ren or just some stormtroopers, that's still up in the air. But really, this is the big surprise on this poster. Other stuff on the poster is mostly what you'd expect from a Star Wars poster. We've got some X-Wings over here, we've got some TIE Fighters over here, and we've got a moisture evaporator down there on Jakku. And I'm just noticing here, there looks to be multiple suns. We've got one here, and one here. So I guess either Drew Struzan's just taking some creative liberties, or maybe Jakku is trying to one-up Tatooine in the number of suns. Maybe 3 suns on Jakku, 2 suns on Tatooine. I don't know. Regardless, it looks cool. So there we have it, the first official Star Wars Episode 7 poster that is more than just the logo. We've got characters, and of course, it wouldn't be a Star Wars poster without at least one reveal. Now, we're gonna analyze this poster and everything else that was revealed at the D23 Expo. A lot more on this week's Star Wars Untitled podcast. You definitely don't want to miss that. It'll be recorded live Thursday night, channel 1138.com at 9 p.m. Eastern, and then released the following day, that Friday, on iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever else you can find your podcasts. Thanks for checking this out. Thanks for checking out this video, and may the Force be with you.
There it is. There it is.
Love it.
Jesse in the chat is asking if I still have the poster. Yes, obviously. Of course I do. I still have it. I don't have it hanging anywhere or posted anywhere, but I should. I want to when I have an appropriate space. The thing is, ever since I got that poster, I've been looking for somewhere that's worthy of it hanging. And I've yet to find that place. So someday I will. But for now, it's in a protected sheet under my bed.
Remember when Finn was the main character in Star Wars?
Yeah, how about that? How about that?
Speaking of things that haven't aged well.
Yeah. Yeah. But that I forgot that was actually the first place we saw Finn with a lightsaber.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was that commercial.
Yeah.
Instagram thing or whatever that was.
Yeah, I thought that as well, but it turns out it was on the poster. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it? But that was fun. D23 is such a cool event, and it's only gotten bigger and more expansive and exciting since then. So that'll bring us, we're still in 2015, because 2015, huge year for Star Wars, huge year for us. It'll take us back to New York Comic Con, though, where we actually got to talk to somebody that we'd wanted to talk to for a very long time, and somebody who had really been a dream interview of ours. And that is, of course, Mr. Dave Filoni. We got to talk to him as part of the Rebels press extravaganza. One of our friends, Star Raptor, you know him as our senior tie-in materials correspondent. We actually met him very, very briefly during New York Comic Con 2015. It was in following years that we'd really get to properly hang out and become good friends with him. But we met him very briefly in 2015, and he likes to tell this story because apparently I said to him, I can't stop and talk. I have to go interview Dave Filoni right now, which is about the coolest I've ever been. I think somebody had heard of me, knew me from a show, wanted to talk to me, and I had to turn them down because I had to go see Dave Filoni. But we got to meet Dave. He was amazing, as you would expect, and we had some fun before the interview because I was wearing a Blue Jays hat, as I so often do, as you see in many of these video clips. But I had one that actually had Star Wars on the brim. It had a stormtrooper on it. And Dave, who is famous for his hats, was for a moment jealous of mine. So I will take that little nugget to my grave. But here is our interview with Dave Filoni talking about season 2, or previewing season 2 of Star Wars Rebels. All right, so we are joined by Star Wars Rebels executive producer Dave Filoni here at New York Comic Con. Dave, we got to talk about Rebels. So let's start off with Ahsoka and Rex coming back, big Clone Wars characters. And what I find kind of fascinating about those two characters in particular coming back is those are two characters who were hugely impacted by Anakin Skywalker. And now they're almost, if not leading the charge, they're going to play, it seems at least, they're going to play big roles in the charge against Darth Vader. Was that a conscious decision on your guys' part, or was it just a happy coincidence?
I think you just know this relationship exists, and it becomes a very interesting character dynamic, something to develop. You do instantly get all these conflicts. What do they know? What don't they, know? What do they believe? How much does Rex know? Ahsoka walked away. Does she realize what happened? And it's all based on conversations that I had over the years with George. And then we took it farther because of the characters in Rebels, and we thought, well, if we're going to bring Vader into Story of Rebels, and we know everybody wanted to have Vader in Rebels, we have to have an opponent that makes sense for him. Kanan doesn't make sense. I mean, he would destroy. Kanan is one of those guys that Vader probably eliminated, after the fact, especially because Kanan was so young and not fully trained. You also have several interesting. You have a Jedi who fell and became a Sith, and Vader. You have a Jedi who left the Order, and Ahsoka. You have a Jedi whose training is incomplete in Kanan. You have a kid being raised who doesn't even know what it means to be a Jedi in Ezra. So, all those great character dynamics. Plus, Rex more affects Kanan. Rex is a clone, obviously, that betrayed the Jedi or not. Right, and
you're not going to tell us that
no,
one.
No, go to the screening tonight. And then as you sit there and you look at that, you go, well, Kanan would, as much as the Jedi is allowed to hate, he would not like Rex.
Right.
But Ezra, he doesn't care. He wasn't in the Clone War. He just sees a kind old person that wants to help them now. So that's a great conflict because the Rex instigates Kanan and Ezra against one another, and so this year in some ways, Ezra's teaching Kanan a little bit more about his own past, and Ezra didn't know this about his past, how he wound up on his own, what happened to his Jedi master, his master. Ezra never asked. So it's a big deal, and it served our characters on Rebels as much as it serves these other characters from Clone Wars.
Yeah, and also with just going to the broader Rebel Alliance, Rebels has kind of given us our first real look at what the Alliance was like when it was starting out, these groups of rebel cells. How do you guys approach, I assume transitioning at some point maybe from these rebel cells to the more complete rebel army that we see in episodes 4 and 5 and 6 and beyond?
When we started the process of this thought in Clone Wars, when we did the Onderon arc, where we saw Anakin training Saw and Steela Guerrera in the ways of, combat, militarized combat, getting these small groups, these pockets to fight, the Separatists. A lot of those pocket groups then also went on to resist the Empire. So you have a variety of groups, and we've been strategically figuring out how we bring them together. Hera obviously has some opportunity there because of her father, Cham Syndulla, and he's a revolutionary going back to the Clone War. So, there are all kinds of characters that we thought would be important to bring in. That's an easy way of saying we're probably going to see Cham this year. So there's a little exclusive for you. But, it would be important. But I've said, we want to see all these characters' backstories, who they were. We do it very much in the now time. So it would be, them talking about what happened to them in the past. But it really forms who they are, who she is as a character, and we get that with everybody, which I think makes season 2 really exciting and deeper than season 1.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
I know you're not supposed to pat yourself on the back too hard, toot your own horn, praise yourself. That was a really good interview.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
That was 2 questions, and look where we wound up. You know what? I think I should interview Dave Filoni more often. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but I think I should. Dave is incredible. That was 5 minutes at New York Comic Con 5 years ago, 6 years ago, with 2 questions. And that was fascinating to listen to now.
Yeah.
Even after Rebels has been off the air for years, just his little bits of insight into the Rebel Alliance, into Kanan, Ezra, the relationship with Rex, the relationships with Darth Vader, all of that stuff. It's really quite something to look back on that and to actually get a chance to to hear from him in that way, and to have gotten the opportunity to ask him some questions was surreal. And what a time that was, and what an incredible person Dave Filoni is.
This is the beginning of the modern era, because we've got the Blue Jays hat, we've got the current microphones, and
yeah. And you can also I feel like also you all saw the interview with Shelley Shapiro from the year before. I feel like a lot of improvements had been made in the time in between. Oh man, what a time. Well, Dave Filoni, obviously somebody who's been, even though we've only talked to him a handful of times, has had a huge impact on us and consistently provides great content, whether it's Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance, or now The Mandalorian. So obviously you can't look back on 10 years of the show without at least acknowledging the influence that Dave had, even though, it's not like he's on the show every other week or anything like that. But somebody else who's been a huge who's been a huge impact on the last 10 years for us is Ashley Eckstein, voice of Ahsoka Tano. It's these Clone Wars connections, man. Steven Stanton, Dave Filoni, Ashley Eckstein. We've talked to Ashley several times over the years, but this next clip will bring us into 2016, and it's when Chris interviewed her at what convention was this? WonderCon, I believe. Yes, WonderCon 2016. Enjoy.
This is Chris from the Star Wars Underworld, and I am here at WonderCon 2016, and I'm here with the fabulous Ashley Eckstein, and you'll know her as the head of the fashion company Her Universe, as well as the voice of Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. So let's get right to it, Ashley. This Wednesday, are you nervous about what's going to happen?
Oh my goodness, I'm so nervous. I'm so excited. I actually don't know what happens. Dave Filoni didn't tell me.
That's worse.
So it is. So when I see it, I'm seeing it for the first time, and I have no idea the outcome or the ending. So I only know the specific lines I recorded, and that's it. So I don't know the whole episode.
Do they have you record different scenarios so you don't know what's the real one? Does Dave play tricks on you like that?
You know what? I mean, to my knowledge, no.
Right, you wouldn't know.
But I don't know.
You don't know.
Honestly, I have no idea what happens.
Wow. So let's pull back the curtain a bit. So back in 2006, 2007, when you're first starting off as this new character, you don't know anything about her. You don't know much about this whole universe and everything. But you probably knew who Darth Vader was.
Yes.
Did you imagine? Could you imagine back then that one day you might be facing off against that iconic character? Is that mind-blowing?
I had hoped that this day would never come because I was once told that if Ahsoka and Darth Vader met, it probably wouldn't be a good thing. So I had hoped that that we weren't going to be at this point today. But, Ahsoka, that was a long time ago, and Ahsoka has grown up so much and I think has changed in so many different ways. So, I'm on pins and needles waiting to see what happens. But no, I mean, to know that I'm voicing a character that is confronting Darth Vader, voiced by James Earl Jones. I mean, the fact that James Earl Jones is the voice of Darth Vader is incredible, and I feel like the luckiest fangirl, out there to be a part of it.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to tell you a little bit about what Ahsoka means to me.
Oh.
And I think it's the same for everybody. She's hope. That's what I think she is. She's coming in, in the Clone Wars, everything is falling apart. The prequel trilogy, it is about Anakin's fall and everything's going negative and it's terrible. She's that one character that makes it through all of that. So I'm sure everybody's just so nervous going into this, having a character like that means so much. But I want to tie this kind of to other people who have faced Vader. There's two notable people who have faced Vader, Obi-Wan and Luke, and they both had two very different encounters with Vader. Obi-Wan, he had to let go of his feelings and his emotion. He had to just do his duty, do his job. Luke, on the other hand, he was ready to sacrifice himself because he knew that there was good in Vader. So with Ahsoka, what approach do you think she's going to take? Just speculating.
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, there's a lot I can't say because under NDA, what I do know, there's a lot I can't say.
Yeah.
But, I honestly don't know. I think the one thing that fans keep forgetting, and here's really the only thing I can say, because this has been a theme throughout Rebels with Ahsoka, is that Ahsoka's no longer a Jedi. So I think we're so used to associating Ahsoka with the Jedi and all of the rules that you follow as a Jedi. But, she's not a Jedi anymore. And so even I get caught up with that. I think she can't do that. But then those are Jedi rules, and Ahsoka's no longer a Jedi. I mean, that's why she has white lightsabers.
True.
Is because those are neutral. She's no longer a Jedi. So I don't know. I mean, honestly, when I tell you I don't know what happens, so I really don't know her approach, but I do know that it doesn't have to be the approach of a Jedi.
That's true. Well, everybody, Wednesday, it's all going down 9 p.m. Eastern on Disney XD. This is the episode I think everybody's going to be talking about for a while, so you don't want to miss it. This is Chris for the Star Wars Underworld signing off. Oh, wait, Dominic, you're muted.
My bad. Live. We'll do it live.
Oopsie.
I see your mouth moving. I'm like, I don't hear any words.
I was like, is this me?
Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Anyway, that was a great interview. That was another one. I really
like I was saying, like, it's fantastic. Like, you guys are like 0 to 100, like, with this whole like interview thing. And probably better than I could do right now, if I'm being honest.
You're probably just missing all of the ones in between that never got uploaded. There's quite a few of those, I'm sure. Yeah, that was fantastic talking to Ashley. And, we've talked a lot about kind of how Dave Filoni can just talk about Star Wars and have it be like evergreen and timeless and relevant, a decade later. And we talked about how amazing Steven Stanton is with his passion and sharing that with the fan community. Like, Ashley Eckstein is definitely on that Mount Rushmore of Star Wars celebs that have interacted and left an indelible mark on just the community and fandom. I was at the Disneyland a few days ago, and I saw a Her Universe shirt hanging there at Disneyland. And, it's just, amazing thinking about the whole journey that she's had, how, she started out, reading for a character in an Icelandic accent. And then that character becomes the face of a new animated movie and show. And then she's at Star Wars Weekends meeting the fans and realizing, like, wow, there's a lot of Star Wars merchandise, but all of it's for 12-year-old boys and men who grew up with the original trilogy. And there's all these female fans, but they don't have a lot of jewelry and bags and shirts that really fit them well, and dresses. And so to see a need like that and fill that with Her Universe, and to have the Her Universe fashion shows that they have every year at San Diego Comic-Con to display that amazing couture creativity. Like, it's absolutely incredible. And now, you can go into any shopping mall, into a Hot Topic, and wherever Hot Topics are around the world, and go and get, a really high quality, very fashionable Star Wars item that fits feminine bodies, and go to Disneyland and get that. Like, that's so amazing. That she's left that legacy that will probably always exist in the Star Wars community. And obviously, as a person, could not be nicer, could not be a better person to just chat with on or off camera about Star Wars or life.
Yeah, she's pretty incredible. She's pretty incredible. Everything that's been accomplished, thanks to her, and thanks to Ahsoka Tano, her character. So now we've bookended season 2 of Rebels. We started with Dave Filoni at the beginning, and we ended with Ashley Eckstein in quite a moment. I'd forgotten that interview took place like days before Twilight of the Apprentice aired, which oh boy, what a time that was. A lot of anticipation for that episode. But we will now move forward. We'll move forward to 2016. That's right, we're only in 2016. And that brings us to the next Star Wars celebration, Europe, which was actually a Celebration London. And this was, we've been talking about the evolution of our podcast and the evolution of how we do things at Star Wars celebrations. Well, this brings us to a much more updated version of what we do. It's still not quite where we were at at Celebration Chicago, but we did one of our, this was our first convention where we had a booth, and we did one of our booth podcasts live after the Rogue One panel, which was in the afternoon, which is unusual for a convention, but that was to adjust time zones and all that. And it was myself, it was Chris, it was senior British correspondent Kieran Duggan, and it was our buddy Steele Saunders from the Steel Wars podcast. And this clip was shot and sent to us by Rob Gower, who's been a great friend of the show over the years as well. So this is that clip, and I hope everybody enjoys.
They were doing a lot of slow-mo shots, and there was one where some of the main characters were running in a battlefield, and there was just explosions and dust and dirt flying all around them. And I don't know if necessarily that's representative exactly of what we'll see in the film, since that was a behind-the-scenes shot. So I don't know if that exact shot we will see in the film. But it just showed to me, like, this is some of the cinematography that I love other franchises for. There are other franchises I love, like The Matrix, that aren't Star Wars, that I love not because it's like the epic story that's Star Wars, but just because they're very innovative in the way that they actually portray the story visually, and the special effects and camera angles and all that stuff. And I'm just so excited to see a merger of the amazing story and emotion and adventure that is Star Wars with different styles of cinematography. I think George Lucas stayed to a very specific style. I feel like The Force Awakens did a very good job of sticking to that with only a few things kind of new, in my opinion. Dominic's not quite sure. It's about 50-50. Whereas this, I feel, is going to be very different.
And this is going to be very different.
And so that kind of gave me chills, because I just kind of had that moment of realization. Like, I knew that it would be different, but then when I saw it, I'm seeing it for the first time. This is going to be different, and that really excites me.
There's one thing we haven't talked about. These sick posters. We've all got one. The Rogue One poster, the Death Star in the background, the Rebels on the beach, the Stormtroopers in the water. It's awesome, but it's kind of weird. Like, it's not a typical Star Wars poster. It almost looks fan-made from a certain point of view. But that being said, I love it. I'm so glad we all got them, and I'm so glad Kathleen Kennedy signed them all for us.
Yes.
Well, I think that's a good point to raise, because I think that kind of epitomizes the panel. Although there are some faults with the way in which we can perceive the panel, and which some of us think that it could have been better. But at least we've got that as a token of the memory of this panel, and be like, when we look at that poster, we'll say, you know what, that was actually quite a cool panel in here.
Yeah,
there was some cool stuff that we learned.
Any criticisms, any qualms we may have with the panel, I'm always going to look back on that as like one of the best times of just seeing all that so much good new Star Wars.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, the poster was great, Mendo was great, the clip was great, the preview was great, but one of my favorite things about the Rogue One panel is going to be getting a proper night's sleep tonight.
Many of us have been up for way too long, with only maybe a nap over the past 24 hours.
45 minutes sleeping on the floor. That's all I've gotten in the last 48 hours.
Celebration is always an experience, but it shows how worth it is that we'll put ourselves through this.
We're still going.
Only through Star Wars will I walk at 2 a.m. over a mile somewhere in London. I don't really know where I am.
In a completely different continent, you know.
Only for Star Wars. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this show. We want to thank first and foremost our live audience for joining us. Half of them have passed out sleeping while we've been talking after the exhaustion, but
they got their moment in the sun and then they ran.
Thank you, everybody, for staying awake through this. And then, of course, thank you to our audience listening to this on iTunes, StarWarsUnderworld.com, Stitcher, everywhere else that you find podcasts after the fact. We appreciate you continuing to listen, and it's just amazing to continue to meet more and more of you as you go out to these conventions, and we're able to go to these conventions. It's just a very humbling and amazing experience for us to be involved at the center of something like this. So I want to give some special shout out to our good friends Edward and Lizzie for manning our booth while all of us here were at the Rogue One panel. That was very generous of them to spend their time doing that. And we also want to give a special shout out to Ben, who couldn't be with us, Ben Hart. And a special shout out to Zach and Lily for helping host the Star Wars Untitled podcast while me and Dominic have been traveling about Europe for the past few weeks. And thanks to the hosts here, to Kieran, Dominic, and Steele. And Steele, plug your stuff.
Oh, yeah, so I'm doing daily blog pods from Celebration. So if you want to, it's mainly, Kieran's been on it, Dom's been on it heaps, and it's just us, like, podcasting from in the line and from the panel and having adventures. So, if you want more Celebration coverage every day at steelwars.com or on iTunes or on the free app for your iPhone or iPad.
So definitely check that out. It's great stuff. I've tried to sneak in and annoy them with my energy a few times.
You don't have to sneak in.
And then once again, special thanks to all of our live audience for joining us. And we will see you. Usually this is when I say we'll see you same time, same place next week. But we really don't know when.
Next week is with Comic-Con.
We don't know when
knows
we'll
what's
see you
going
again.
on,
But
so-
I'm sure there will be a show on Thursday
Ben will have
that
a show.
Ben will be doing. So definitely.
Let's meet in this empty expo center next week.
Yeah,
Next week, same time, same place.
Just a Steele show. He will steal the show. One last pun for the evening. So once again, thank you for everybody. Should I list everybody again?
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna list everybody here. Okay, for Steele and Dominic and Kieran and all of our amazing live audience. My name is Chris. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
It's a wrap.
I had forgotten a lot about that podcast.
Kind of
forgotten.
zombies.
I cannot believe we were standing during that. I cannot. Like, Kieran and Steele are at least sitting down. And you and I, Chris, for some reason, we had this insane idea that we should stand while we record a podcast. Which, like, why? We don't do that when I'm sitting now. I sit all the time. Anyways, that was Celebration London was a surreal experience in a lot of ways, and as you could see and hear in that clip, we were feeling it. Maybe not as much as Steele was feeling it after the overnight line, because it wasn't just an overnight line. We had gone to like a concert the night before.
Right.
We had gone to like a party / concerts event the night before, and then gotten into an overnight line, and then done like a whole day at the convention because they did the panel in the afternoon. So we were exhausted, and then I think that night I went to the 501st party, which was like, why? I was so dead by the time. I think that was the day. We were going because you had to line up early for like every panel at Celebration London. And so I think that was the day that night into the next day, we were planning to get up to go to, I think it was for a Rebels panel. And I was like, we were going to walk most of the way from our hotel to the convention center and it was like 2 a.m, like you said in that clip. And I was waiting for you, Chris, to like finish getting dressed or get out, come out of the bathroom or something. I was just sitting in this hallway in this hotel in London going, I can't walk. I can't move anymore. I can't, I'm too tired. I can't do this. And I think I looked at you, I said, like, I think you'd bought a meal or something. You bought me a meal or something earlier in the week and I'd owed you for it. And I looked at you, I was like, if I get us an Uber to the convention, are we square? And you were like, yeah, sure. I think that's fair. I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God. But that, such a fun time and such fun to have both Kieran and Steele on that episode. And you can go back and listen to the whole thing on our website and all the various places you get the podcast, because that is a very fun episode with a lot of listener interaction as well.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. Okay, keeping it moving. We will now transition from 2016 into 2017 and go right to another Star Wars Celebration Orlando. It was a very quick turnaround between Celebration London and Celebration Orlando. It was less than a year. All of a sudden, we're back at Star Wars Celebration, and as we seem to be doing in a lot of these things, we were going to a Rebels event. We went to the Rebels season 4 premiere. Chris and I did. Ben, as usual, was somewhere else because we never know where Ben is anymore.
I have a feeling I'm about to age 20 years.
Yeah. I think, Ben, you drew like the short straw and had to be on booth duty or something, and we didn't know it was going to be the final season premiere for Star Wars Rebels. So we went to this event, and after we left it, we recorded a video reacting and reviewing the season 4 premiere of Star Wars Rebels as we walked around the convention center as we made our way back to the Star Wars Underworld booth. Get ready. Enjoy.
Hey guys, I'm with Dominic right now.
Hello.
And we just got out of the press conference for Star Wars Rebels, and we also just saw the premiere of Star Wars Rebels Season 4, which unfortunately is going to be the last season. So we've got The Last Jedi and the last
season.
The Last Rebel,
The last
maybe?
Rebel? No, not quite. That would be an interesting tagline if they're really going for that corporate synergy.
Right.
I have to say, it's weird having you introduce talking about Rebels. That's kind of my thing. Yeah,
We need to start again.
I'm the one that hosts the award-winning, or now I guess we can say award-losing podcast.
Oh, we lost.
We
I
lost.
didn't know.
We lost.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations
We would've
to who won. I don't know. I don't remember who. Well, whoever you are, congratulations.
Congratulations,
Whoa.
and watch your back.
Yeah.
No, congratulations. It's
That means we have one last season of Live from Lothal, so we're gonna have to knock it out of the park.
Knock it out of the park
too.
So, we're gonna get like guests that you would never believe. Let's get on the escalator.
There we go. Just try not to walk around in circles.
We're gonna change positions here. So this is like breaking one of the rules of filmmaking.
Yes.
You're never supposed to have
Right.
people swap the sides of the screen.
Yeah.
But we just did. So
We're never supposed to
breaking the
do
rules.
this either, and I was
Yeah.
doing that for a while.
We're breaking all the rules here.
We'll get
This
better
is,
at this.
Yeah, well, this is.
So anyway, let's get to it. Let's talk about Spoiler Free, obviously, because you guys aren't going to see it for a while. But let's talk about what we
It's great
thought.
when Ezra died.
Yeah, that was the highlight of the episode.
Yeah,
But
it was a good episode.
I really liked it, so I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
Because I tell you when I don't like it.
Yes.
I really think
every episode.
A lot of the things that is good about this show they did in this episode.
Yeah,
it was really good.
They no, go this way.
All right.
this is the advantage of walking around a convention center. We're trying to talk about.
See
Rebels.
now we're like backlit, but
We're
that's
back.
fine.
That's okay. It's cool. We got it's cool.
Yeah.
Cool lighting. No,
Yeah.
it's a good episode. Like the action, I feel like they really stepped up the action in this episode. I kind of felt like the last 2 seasons of Rebels, the action has not been good. Turn left. And in this episode had really strong action, which was nice for a change. It was different. It was fast paced. The finale was good. Like the finale, they did a good job with the action there, but it always kind of feels small on the show. And that was okay in season 1, but the last 2 seasons it's just felt small and slow, and they've been kind of getting back on pace with season 3. And this kind of feels like back where I felt it should be for a show that's been on this long.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and the pacing was really good. There's something that happens. We're not going to say what, but there's something that happens that was really, really heavy. And I almost feel like when they're talking about like there being heavy stuff in season 3, I felt like they maybe might have expected this episode to air in season 3 because it kind of reminded me more of the tone that they were talking about. You know, last year when they were.
It may be one of those things where they don't know. Like I remember back in the Clone Wars days, they would tease something as being this season, and then it would turn out to be in the next season, just because you can't. I'd rather they focus on making good episodes and remembering where the episodes are supposed to air, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it may be one of those situations, but yeah, it definitely there were much grander stakes in this episode than we've seen really ever on this show. We've never seen
I agree.
Something quite like this on the show, and like you said, it's not totally, we don't see total destruction or anything, but they don't actually show the event happening, but you see the aftermath of it, and it's
the aftermath.
The aftermath.
So it was a pretty awesome episode, and we're going to be shooting a lot more videos from the convention. We'll also have some videos from the press conference as well with the casting crew talking about season 3 and season 4. So make sure that you check those out on our YouTube channel and subscribe. We'll see you in a bit, and may the Force be with you. It's a wrap.
we gotta do more of those. That was. I'm watching that going, why didn't we do that after every panel? It feels
Maybe because
like
we were zombies.
Yeah, well, talk about being a zombie. I can't listen or watch myself in that clip. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about Rebels. It's really good. But that was that Rebels finale screening was something else. It was really fun. I've been saying that about everything, but everything has been something else this whole show. It was a lot of fun, even though they cut off the episode midway through because it was a 2-parter and they only showed us the first part. Right. And you hear us talking about this big, bold thing that they did. Well, when you see part 2, you know that they undid what they did at the end of part 1. So when I got to see part 2 a little bit earlier than everybody else because they did a screening at Fan Expo. And I had to sort of slowly break the news, hopefully in a way that was still kind of secretive to all the people who didn't who saw the episode at Celebration and were impressed by this thing. I kind of wanted to give everybody a heads up that maybe don't put too much stock in what we saw in Orlando just yet, without actually spoiling what happened, because obviously they didn't want to spoil it for anybody that didn't want to know what happened. Yeah. So yeah, but there's something else in that clip we got to talk about, Chris.
Oh no.
The beard.
Right.
Explain.
Well, I don't do anything to try to keep my look consistent ever. I just do giant changes and then just let things happen. So I'm like a chia pet. I'm a human chia pet. So I'll cut my hair really short and then let it grow out for like 2 or 3 years, or like shave my face and then let my beard grow out for like 2 or 3 months. And that way I only have to shave or cut my hair ever so often because I don't have to worry about maintaining a specific look. So, I mean, I was thinking about, because, you will see on our live shows that we've been doing on video, you will see my beard slowly growing out. You will see the chia pet growing out because I was pretty much fully shaved as much as I can because I've got quite the shadow because my hair is very dark. But I was pretty much fully shaved on our first video podcast that we did a month ago. And now this is what it has become. I think I shaved once in between too. So this isn't 1 month of growth. It's more like a few weeks. So I was thinking about shaving again in a few days, but I don't know. Maybe I should just wait a few months and just have it go all the way out.
Bring back the Jesus John Lennon look and
right.
And,
it was a good
go with that.
It was a good look. There's certain looks that I'm trying to go for that I've never had before that are taking priority over some of the highlights of the best looks in the past. The classics. I want to bring back the classics. I definitely will. But I've got some other surprise things that I want to do as well in the future. So may not be room for that to reemerge anytime soon.
Well, it's slightly painful for me to watch all these videos because I just see my hairline slowly receding, slowly disappearing.
That's what's happening. I'm taking it from you and putting it on me. That's what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. So that was Celebration Orlando, another great, terrific experience. We did a podcast from our booth. We've played clips from it in the past. You can listen to it like with all the other episodes up on StarWarsUnderworld.com. And we don't actually have any video of that one, which is a shame, but it's a great episode as well. So you should definitely check out the audio version of that. But
that's the one that I was the most dead at. So you don't get to see what I looked like when I had lost energy. I remember I was literally stumbling around the convention center after we finished that. And I'm like, this is not fun for me. Like, there's Star Wars all around me, and there's so much I want to do, but I'm literally like in pain right now. Like, I can't keep my eyes open. And so I just like stumbled back to the hotel and like slept in the middle of the day in the middle of Star Wars convention, which is something I've only done once in my life, because I'm like, I've got all the stuff I need to do tonight and tomorrow, and I gotta reset. So I did, and it was good after that. I was fine.
Yeah. We'll move on. We'll go to our next clip, which brings us to December of 2017. Of course, the release of The Last Jedi. We all went down.
This better be the clip that I want it to be, Dominic.
Hold on. We're getting to that one.
Okay, good.
We're getting to that one. But we all went down to Texas to record, to watch the movie together and to record what we called Jedi Pod, a massive crossover event between Star Wars Underworld, Star Wars Wastelands, Hype Function, and the Next Level Squad. It was a terrific podcast. It's almost 4 hours long, this thing, and you can actually watch the entire thing on what is that page called now? Sequel Film News or something?
Is it? I believe it's Star Wars Episode 9 News.
Star Wars Episode 9
but
News.
But it's facebook.com/sequel film news is like the slug. If anybody listens to our podcast that works for Facebook, please email us, SWU_@gmail.com. We've been trying to change the name of that page for 2 years, ever since Episode 9 came out. Because we used to be able to change it. It was originally Star Wars Episode 7. Then it became Star Wars Episode 7 News, then Star Wars Episode 8 News, then Star Wars Episode 9 News. Now we just want to call it Star Wars News. That would be our dream. But Facebook won't let us take those words out. It's too big of a change for a page of that size.
Man.
And it's really annoying because that continues to be the page that we have the most amount of people following in our network. But what can you do? It still has that old name from a few years ago.
Yeah. So, but it's there. That's where you can watch this video in its 4-hour glory. And what we're gonna watch first, because I wanted to highlight everybody who was actually part of that video, is the very end of it, where we give our predictions. After having seen episode 7 and 8, we give our predictions for what will happen in episode 9, and you'll see who got stuff right and who got stuff wildly wrong.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to close with our episode 9 speculation in 30 seconds or less. And Parker, we'll start with you. What do you hope to happen, or what do you think will happen?
I hope to see both Rey and Kylo move more centrist, and I want to see the Resistance begin to pick up in other places and see them gain real traction. I would like to see like some sort of like, I don't know, like rabble build and get like a very interesting, diverse fight in the final movie.
That would be cool. Michelle?
I actually would really love to for the movie to progress toward the idea behind the Force being like, there doesn't need to be Jedi or the old Jedi for the Force to continue. Like life moves on, life and death, like Force, and they show that with the little boy with the broom.
Right.
The Force
Broom
doesn't
boy.
need you to continue, you know?
Very true. Becca?
Agree. So the theme of this movie was like kill the old, like kill the past if you have to. And I think what's going to happen is they're killing off all the old Star Wars characters, so Kylo's going to die. And I think if Rey is related to any of them, she's going to die too.
Interesting.
Oh, I just love it that I'm taller than all of y'all.
That's not a huge accomplishment over here, okay?
But predictions. So I think the Resistance will die.
Ooh.
Kylo Ren will kill the First Order because he is unstable. And through it all, the Force will find a way. Mr. Broom Boy at the end of The Last Jedi will find a way. And as one of the trailers played before the movie began, for the new Jurassic World movie, life finds a way.
I was about to say, this feels like a Jurassic Park prediction, not a Star Wars prediction, but we'll see.
Coming soon to theaters.
Mondo, what are your predictions, my man?
Yeah, so my predictions are, I think that we're going to end up getting a significant time jump between episode 8 and 9, because that's really the only way to write that at this point. And I do think that Broom Boy is going to come back in episode 9 and be a little more centric role than people may think he is. I think a lot of people think he's just kind of it's a cute way to end the movie. No, I think it's going to have a purpose. I do think you're going to see a rebuilding of the rebellion, but I think it's going to end up being in a way that they're still very vulnerable to whatever the First Order becomes at that point because they're actually being led by Kylo Ren now.
Right.
You know, he's their supreme leader, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Okay.
Broom Boy's the real star, and we all know it.
Yes, he is. Woo! All right, my prediction for episode 9. Harrison Ford appearance.
Oh.
I almost expected an appearance by Harrison in this movie when Luke said, "I'll always be in your head, and so will your father." I thought for sure the next shot was going to be Harrison standing there going, "Hey kid, how's it going?" And I think, given the fact that we lost Carrie Fisher last December, we're going to need to confront Kylo Ren with one of his parents, and seeing as we can't have Leia, I think a vision of Han Solo in some form or another will be crucial to the conclusion of Kylo Ren's story arc. So knowing how much of a Harrison Ford fanboy that J.J. Abrams is, and looking at where this story needs to go logically, I think there's a very real possibility that we see Han Solo back in Episode 9, not coming back to life, not as a Force ghost, but in some form or another.
Was that 30 seconds?
Fair enough. Yeah, 30 seconds or less. I am in agreement with you. There has to be some original trilogy dynamic included in Episode 9, but with the loss of Carrie Fisher, that's going to be hard to do. I think instead of a Han Solo appearance, it'll be a Luke Skywalker Force Ghost appearance.
I think that'll happen too.
I think that's a definite possibility. I think we're going to go to some other extravagant place similar to Canto Bight, just because people love the visual elements of things like that. And I feel like Rey is going to make a very difficult decision of some kind or another. I would like to think that it has to do with defeating the dark side, but there's also a very real possibility that she may recognize her potential and want to use it to the fullest extent and find a way to join Ben in some mutual agreement.
I think that there's going to be a big time jump, potentially as much as 5 years, and I think that the Knights of Ren are going to come back and they're going to face off with Kylo against Rey and her new trainees.
I think the interesting thing about this movie sets up is that the masters are gone. Snoke and Luke are both gone. So now the apprentices are the masters. And I think you're establishing, the last shot establishes that there are kids out there with Force potential that could potentially become Jedi or Dark Jedi. So maybe it sets up for something along the lines of kind of a race between Kylo and Rey for getting these kids. Maybe we'll see maybe a few thousand Dark Jedi and Light Jedi battle it out.
That would be
at some point in the
interesting.
future.
That would be interesting. Well, folks, this has been an amazing Jedi pod, but we are running short on time. It's almost 2 a.m., and we have a limited amount of data we're allowed to use. This is the Next Level crew all along here. This is Jeff from Backyard Watch. This is Mondo from...
That's the end of the clip. It's not. I didn't mean to cut it off because I wanted to cut off people's plugs. That's literally where the video ends. That's how long that show was. Facebook said, "No, you can't broadcast anymore." Didn't matter that we were wrapping up. It was just, it was the end of the show. Yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of parts of those predictions that people got like partially right.
Yeah, mine was partially right. Yours was probably the most spot on one.
Yeah, I think I nailed that one.
But I was right about the Knights of Ren.
You were absolutely right about the Knights of Ren. I thought the Knights of Ren would just be a backstory thing. I never thought we'd actually see them.
I knew JJ would not let that one hang.
Yeah, fair point. That's a fair point. And I feel like Zach was kind of thinking on the right track there for where things wound up as well. So that was Jedi Pod, but there's another moment.
Yes.
In Jedi Pod.
I've been waiting to see this for like 4 years. I'm so excited.
Everybody behind the scenes on this episode has been wanting to see. And I apologize in advance to everybody who is just listening to this because this is one of the clips that likely won't make a ton of sense without seeing it. But I'd be curious to know what you think happened.
Okay, so go to our YouTube channel. If you're just listening, go to the YouTube channel. This is going to be about 2 hours and 30 minutes in. Right now it's 2 hours 34, but we're probably going to cut out a few minutes of technical difficulties. So to be safe, 2 hours and 30 minutes, and then subscribe.
Yeah, and subscribe
good.
and comment what you thought happened in the clip versus what actually happens in the clip.
Yes.
So this is perhaps the most famous or infamous moment from Jedi Pod.
Something else I really liked about that fight in particular was and again, just the symbolism. This is something I really appreciate about this movie in general, is just all the symbolism running throughout in every single action sequence and everything is the balance. Woo! Woo!
We're having fun.
Congratulations.
What's happened?
It was on camera.
That's what happens when you go live, folks. Literally.
It's
fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Yes, I'd like a
he
gym
did lose a
instructor.
key, I think. I think you lost a key, maybe.
Hey, 10 out of 10.
Only one key. Just, but I really, really enjoyed the symbolism of the balance.
I love that you're talking about balance
yeah,
right
the
now.
The balance when he's so uncoordinated.
Just the balance between them, like kind of like the yin and yang, the good and the evil, like back to back. It was beautiful in that way, like cinematically, and like it was just it was a gorgeous fight.
There it is.
Yes, that was just as good as I remembered it. Yes.
That was
Someone
perhaps my.
please make a boomerang of that. I guess.
That was that was something else. That was the plug for my laptop got stuck in my sock, like between my big toe and my little toe in my sock. And when I got up because I had to go use the bathroom. My laptop went flying, and I very nearly did a faceplant because that's how these things go. But it was a great moment and a great time that was had by all during Jedi Pod trips and all. It didn't hurt at all. It was completely painless. That's the other thing. It was completely painless. I see Jeff is wondering. He says, "Sounds like that hurt." Didn't hurt. It was painless. The only thing that was injured was my pride. So there you go. That brings us to the end of 2017, if you can believe it. And look who's back just in time.
Ben, where are you?
An undisclosed location.
Oh.
You'll never know.
For anybody who's listening, Ben had to disappear for a little while, as you likely remember he used to do frequently. And now he's back. And Ben, you just missed the greatest clip ever from Jedi Pod.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I'm disappointed. That I missed.
You have to watch it back.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I will watch it again for sure.
Oh yeah, of course. But that brings.
I feel like this is a podcast clip for like 10 years. We'll be looking back on this clip, going like, "Wow, Ben was just like janky, just doing all kinds of crazy stuff and calling in from his phone." Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
There we go. But it's good that you're back. Because this brings us to 2018, when like we were saying earlier, there was a fast turnaround between celebrations. Well, there was a fast turnaround between Star Wars movies. And we went from The Last Jedi into Solo, a Star Wars story, very, very quickly. And as you've seen in these clips, when a Star Wars movie comes out, we tend to travel around. And we went to Texas for The Last Jedi, went to LA for Rogue One, we did Mississippi for The Force Awakens. And so naturally, for Solo, you guys came to Toronto. And Ben and I actually got to go to the Canadian premiere, which was 24 hours earlier than the rest of the world. So that's how we roll in Canada. We don't do 2-week advance premiere things like they did in LA. No, we did 24 hours. It's tickets to the premiere, by the way. I won in a trivia contest, which now we know Ben would have won based on last
apparently.
Based on last week. So I won 2 tickets, and then literally we flipped a coin for which one of you would get to go with me. I remember taking pictures of it, like at my job, literally flipping a coin, and Ben wound up winning the coin toss. And I think that wound up working out for the best, because Chris, you wound up arriving, like you would have arrived like right at the start of the movie. So it was
I had a very interesting bus ride experience through all of Canada.
yeah. So, but we saw the end. We saw Solo: A Star Wars Story. We saw the movie, and after that, we decided, of course, we have to film our reaction to it, and we had to film it in the vicinity of a Canadian landmark. So you'll see that in this clip. You also, if you remember, in the Celebration Orlando video, we talked about the rules of filmmaking that you shouldn't break. You'll see that we broke one of those right away in this clip. So,
oh my,
enjoy.
Hey, Star Wars Underworld fans, Dominic, Ben, we're here under the CN Tower. We've just seen Solo: A Star Wars Story at the Canadian premiere. Here's some spoiler-free thoughts. Ben, what'd you think?
I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, you know, I of course I have criticisms, but nothing sticks out as me as something like, oh, I'm not going to enjoy this movie. Like, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Pretty solid movie. The front portion is, as we were just discussing, it's a bit much. But I think once you get into it, just hold tight, hang on. It's going to throw a lot at you, but keep going because it keeps delivering some really awesome stuff as far as you go. And there's tons of Easter eggs. There's just lines. Pay attention. Listen
some
to what
more than Easter eggs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's more than that. But listen to what the characters are saying because there's stuff in there that you will have to, that you really enjoy if you catch.
There's some stuff that I think got by you. Because there was one thing in particular where I like slapped you on the shoulder. I thought was really good.
You're gonna have to explain it to me once this is done.
It's a really good reference, and you're like, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the beginning, you know, that was a criticism that was thrown at Rogue One a lot. That the beginning is a bit choppy. This does that as well.
It's a similar film as Rogue One. It's a film that is about, instead of being like about a crew. I mean, Rogue One is essentially about one character, about Jyn Erso, and so telling her story from her beginning, whereas it's telling the story from Han, from his beginning, and establishing some of his characters, what's going to happen to him.
I think if Rogue One, if Jyn Erso was a previously established Star Wars character, that probably would have been called Jyn Erso: A Star Wars Story.
I mean, obviously, in the future, when they do these, you know, one-off stories, hopefully they'll pull it together a little bit better, because it was a bit much. I think the only problem with it is the fact that it's throwing a lot at you, and it's a lot to take in, but once you settle down and you're with everybody and we're on the mission, that's when it gets good. That's when you can actually follow it and pay attention and get the feeling for the whole movie.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about Alden Ehrenreich, Han Solo, because we don't want to talk about spoilers. And oh boy, there's some
big ones. Stay off the internet, people. Just don't.
Yeah,
don't
24 hours, you can make it. Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. What'd you think?
I loved him. I seriously, I bought into him from moment one.
There was never a moment where I thought, oh, he's not getting it. There were moments where I wasn't thinking of Harrison Ford. I rarely thought of Harrison Ford. There were a couple of moments where I thought, oh, he's doing Harrison Ford. But by and large, he captured the spirit and the essence of Han Solo without just doing a Harrison Ford impression. I thought that was really good.
There was one moment where he was like, he kind of let his guard down with the voice, but like I felt like at that point he was still becoming Han. He's supposed to be this kid who is just coming from this background. He's not fully formed, and anything that's off about him, I think, can be chalked up to, well, he's becoming Han. He's not the Han we know. He's way younger. He's way at a different part of his life, dealing with different circumstances and different people.
Yeah, absolutely. And Donald Glover as Lando, I thought he was great.
Yeah.
I do think there were times when he maybe went just a touch too far into the Billy D, trying to do a bit too much of an impression. But you look at Billy D's performance, you look at Donald's performance in this one, there's not too much different. Like, I think he did a really, really good job. But there were some times where I thought maybe just be a little bit more of yourself, be a little bit more of the young Lando and get there. But again, it's not a real criticism. I really liked the movie. I have no criticisms of this movie.
I think he likes the movie more than I like the movie.
I really liked it. So it's just a minor thing. Emalia Clarke as Kira. What did we think?
I really enjoyed her. I think she's a very layered character, and you don't learn a lot about her in the trailers because there is a lot to learn about her.
A lot to learn.
Yeah, and even this movie doesn't give you everything. So
yeah, it gives you some great books, or more.
Yeah, who knows?
You never know. Woody Harrelson, Beckett.
I really liked him.
Pretty good.
He sets up and he goes to certain places you don't necessarily expect, but at the same time you do kind of expect him to go there. And he just really he kind of is Han.
Yeah.
He's kind of bringing that.
It's what Han will become.
Yeah, he's kind of the replacement Han for right now, and you're kind of getting the quips and the whatever the witty wisdom or whatever before Han is actually getting to that. You can see Han's picking that up from him, as through this movie.
As it goes, yeah. Loads more to talk about in the weeks and months to come. Make sure you tune into the Star Wars Underworld podcast for lots more discussion, including an immediate breakdown after the wide release premiere with all of our usual crew.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a great show. Go see Solo. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're going to go see it. I loved it. I like it better than Last Jedi, but I'm also not one of those people who hates Last Jedi either by any stretch. So, yeah, it was good. Thanks for watching.
Catch you on the flip
May
side.
the Force be with you.
It's funny. It's funny how my opinions of Last Jedi and Solo have gone like in opposite directions. Like when I first saw Last Jedi, didn't care for it. Now I consider it a very, very, very good movie that I really, really enjoy. As you just saw, when I first saw Solo, I thought it was amazing. Now I think it's a solid, good, very enjoyable movie, but I'm definitely not as hyped on it as I was in that video. That was definitely a little bit of premiere goggles, but still.
My thoughts are still exactly the same.
But still, such a fun experience to see it 24 hours early. Little did we know that for the next movie, a year later, we'd be at the world premiere, Chris. Ben, as usual, you went from being there for one to not being there again. As you so often do. But that was the other thing that I found really fun about that video is I work right next to the CN Tower these days. And so like I listen to the background noise and that stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to say triggered because that word carries too much baggage. But like I'm like, for a second, I forgot where I was, but it was a lot of fun. And Ben, any specific fond memories of the Canadian premiere of Solo that you want to share with us from your undisclosed location there?
No, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. It was like called it the Canadian premiere. Like it was just like an early screening, and it was just and it was an excited crowd, and it was a lot of fun. And I'd never been to anything along the lines of a premiere, so that helped. But I still look. I think my opinions probably haven't. I think my opinions like have changed, and then they kind of changed back because like I still love Alden. I rank Solo very high. I don't rank Star Wars movies as a rule, but I think if I did, I would rank it pretty high. So.
Yeah. No, Alden Ehrenreich still is like one of the absolute best things to come out of that movie, and it's a damn shame we haven't seen him back as Han in anything. I'd love to see him in a sequel or something else, something similar. We'll fast forward through the rest of 2018 because we don't have any more video from that, and we'll jump ahead to 2019, and we'll head back to Star Wars Celebration for some shenanigans at Celebration Chicago. This is another one that I apologize to all of the audio listeners because there's really I can't describe what you're about to see. This is a mishmash of just whatever I could find because we either didn't shoot much video from at Celebration or we didn't post most of it, and so I was just grabbing what we could, and this is the insanity that I was able to find.
And we are live.
These are the biggest, most important thing at Celebration, bigger than Episode 9.
Absolutely.
Star Wars Underworld buttons.
Come here to get the buttons, all 3 buttons, get the trading cards, and come to the podcast.
And all this gear we have.
All set up. We want
ready.
Yes.
For the microphone.
We are set up, and we are on the show floor.
Okay, so one thing is lightsabers.
Wow, it is cold here in Chicago. I'm currently sitting in, what's the name of the stadium, Dominic?
Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs.
So it's the home of the Chicago Cubs, and it may be 2 or 3 degrees, but it feels like it's minus. It feels like Arctic temperatures.
Dominic, I run a successful Star Wars group. My friends are really cool.
Who is that? Everybody. We're at Star Wars Celebration and we're super stoked. Y'all need to come next year.
Look at this. We have got thousands of buttons in this box.
Is it still raining? Okay.
This is our store, which looks pretty cool. We're in a convention center now in Chicago. Some of the old SWU people there. But just look at these buttons. I mean,
I think it's safe to say we put all of our effort into our audio production that weekend. And our video there leaves perhaps something to be desired in many, many ways. But still, Celebration Chicago was a tremendous experience. Everything from our setup to the actual convention, to our trip to the baseball game, which was very, very cold, as Kieran points out in that video. And of course, the thing that I think defined that weekend most for us was the Star Wars Underworld buttons, the vast, vast quantity of buttons that we had.
Millions of buttons.
So many, which is why we had to open the video with the buttons and bookend the video with the buttons. Both of those are from the same day, by the way. Both of those shots are from the same day. It's not like we still had that many left at the end. We had none left. I don't have one from that weekend.
We still have a few trading cards left, though. I was doing some cleaning. Well, actually, it was when I was getting that purple shirt for you guys last week. I came across a box of those trading cards and spilled it all over the place, and there was it's more than 52 pickup. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've got a bunch as well. So, the Kazuda cast ones haven't exactly aged well, seeing as, Resistance is no longer on the air, but we'll give them out to you at Celebration Anaheim. That's for sure. That's for sure.
It's Star Wars merch. It does not need to be relevant.
It's true. It's true.
The podcast is still listenable. You can still listen to it and watch, along with Star Wars Resistance, which is on Disney Plus right now. I'm not getting paid to say that, but yeah.
Yeah, check it out. And huge thanks again to Kieran, because his Facebook vlogs are the reason we had just about any footage from Celebration Chicago. And
love it.
They were a lot of fun to revisit. So that's Celebration Chicago. I have one more video from Celebration, or not from Celebration, from 2019, because there's lots of people that we've connected with over the years, and wanted to highlight some of them. And one of those people is our buddy Chris Abbott, aka Star Raptor. And this next clip is actually from his YouTube channel, or the footage is from it. I've cut it up a little bit, but it's from the time that him and I and his friend Teddy, we went to play Secrets of the Empire, which was the VR experience in New York. It was during New York Comic Con, although it wasn't actually at New York Comic Con. And this was 2019. We had a lot of fun. It was actually the place that we went to play Secrets of the Empire is actually it's right by the World Trade Center. Like, it's across the street from the memorials in this surreal building that looks like it's out of Star Wars when you go into it. It's this like big white I don't even know how to describe it. It's insane. It feels like something you would see on Camino. It's really quite something. But
I remember the first time I saw that building, I freaked out. I'm like, I'm in the future.
Yeah, yeah. It does maybe look a little disturbingly like something out of THX 1138, but yeah. But this is that clip of us talking about that experience. So shout out to Star Raptor, shout out to Chris Abbott for letting us use this clip and for being such a great friend to us over the years.
Absolutely.
Everybody, it's Star Raptor here, coming to you on location in New York City at The Void. We have just checked out Secrets of the Empire. I'm here with my friend Teddy, as well as Dom from the Star Wars Underworld. So what'd you guys think? Just initial thoughts, I'll throw it to you, Teddy.
I thought it was amazing. It was a blast. It was so realistic, just everything about it. The fact that you could, like, smell it, feel it, everything.
Yeah, so just going over what the whole experience is, this is an augmented reality experience. So what it is, you get a haptic vest, you get a helmet, and you actually can hear each other speaking. It's a team-based, squad-based mechanics. So you actually go through like a real-world maze. You're not just standing like normal VR in one spot. You're actually traveling. You can actually interact with railings. You can pick up blasters. You can feel things as they hit you. So you're pretty much going through a whole storyline where Cassian Andor is giving you a mission to find this object. The object ends up on Mustafar. And yes, you can feel the elements of the heat, the different steam and things like that. I'll throw it over to you, Dom. What'd you think? Initial impressions on Secrets of the Empire?
Yeah, I thought it was so good. Like, it was one of those things that I knew would be good. You know, I figured it had to be good, but I still wasn't prepared for how good it actually wound up being, where you're looking around and you're on Mustafar. And like you guys saying, you feel the heat, you can smell things. Like, I would have taken a few more of those moments where you're just looking around. Like, the shooting stormtroopers and stuff, that's fun. Like, that was great fun. But I would have loved those moments. I love those moments where you're just looking around at these vistas of the Mustafar and Star Wars. You're in Star Wars. It's, you know, besides Galaxy's Edge, it's the closest thing you can actually do to being Star Wars. So it's incredible.
Yeah, so this experience actually connects with the VR experience called Vader Immortal, which was 2 episodes out right now. This is actually taking place, I think they said at the panel we went to earlier at New York Comic Con, that's why we're here, about a week after the events of that. So yes, this very much is something that I'm kind of aware of because I've been playing Vader Immortal. I freaking love the game. I have my reviews on the channel right now for episodes 1 and 2. But this is like the next step because you're actually physically walking, and the fact that you could actually feel these laser bolts, and you're seeing different parts of Vader's well, actually, you're not in Vader's castle, you're at like a factory, but still just tactile. So yeah, just quick final thoughts from both of you guys about Secrets of the Empire.
Well worth it. I definitely recommend it. Definitely worth the money if you're, whether you're a big gamer or a huge Star Wars fan, definitely worth the money, definitely worth the experience.
2 words: do it. That's all. That's all. Like, just, you know, save up, go and do it. It's I think it's a must for Star Wars fans. You got to do it at least once.
Yeah, and just the way that you're presented with what you're about to undergo, right? You get into this briefing room. It's literally a separate room with Diego Luna, and even the attendant was like, your captain's going to speak with you. And I wasn't expecting him to be Captain Cassian Andor.
What a fun time. What a fun time. And as I said, I recommend everybody do it at least once. I went on to do it 2, 3, 4 times. I think when we all went down to to do it in Disney Springs or Disney
Downtown Disney.
Downtown Disney. That's what it's called.
That's when I got to do it for the first time. That was really
same.
Awesome.
Yeah, we did that about a month or 2 later when we were all together to see The Rise of Skywalker, and yeah, it's pretty. It's a.
And
pretty
I'll echo what
surreal.
you guys said. It's amazing. Go do it if it's still happening. If you can still do it.
I see ads for it. I don't know where it is right now. I don't think it's in LA or in California anymore. It's somewhere else. But wherever it is,
I feel like the last time I went by the Void in Orlando, something else was going on.
I think it's in
there.
Disney Springs. I think it's in Florida
It's still there?
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the place that you could do it in Toronto is I don't think it has it anymore. I think the place that Star Raptor and Teddy and I went and did it in New York, is closed up actually because it was like a pop-up venue, which is a shame because it's such a fun thing. And so if you still have the opportunity, they should bring it out to Celebration or something,
Oh,
because if you have the opportunity, you really got it.
I'm sure they'll bring it back to downtown Disney for Celebration Anaheim.
It's the most immersive Star Wars experience I've ever experienced. Like it's crazy.
It's amazing. It's amazing. All right. One video to go, 2020. And you're probably wondering, 2020, what did you guys do? There was a pandemic on, there were no conventions, all that stuff. Well, Star Wars fans, as you probably know if you listen to the show, they made their own conventions in 2020, specifically with Force Fest, which we were all involved in. And I actually did a couple of panels, or I was part of a couple of panels. I was definitely not the star of any of the panels I was a part of. But this panel I want to feature, again, because I wanted to feature some of the people that we've gotten to know over the years. And two people that I wanted to feature are our buddy Din from the band F-105, not the Mandalorian, and our buddy Kareem from Order 416. And actually, speaking of Order 416, you saw Dan from Order 416 in the Celebration Chicago video. And so we wanted to highlight those guys as well. And Din, myself, and Kareem, we did this panel for Force Fest. It was about the hero's journey and how it connects to Star Wars and how it connected to Din's music. And in the panel, Din featured a new song that's actually still not out on any of his records. It's going to be on the next album, the next F-105 album. And the song is called To the Underworld. And he talked about the inspiration for it and played a little clip from it. So enjoy this snippet from the DIY Hero's Journey panel from Force Fest 2020. The Underworld. So do you want to take us through this one, Dan?
This is more of the belly of the whale. This really came out of my COVID experience, which was spending 4 months isolated, and I used that to really look inside. And when you really do, I think you find a lot of stuff that you really realize you have to work on that you haven't. At least in my case, that's what all the myths show too. And I realized To the Underworld, which is one of the songs for the next album, is dealing in this kind of really dark place, and I realized I wasn't really lyrically going for it. So if it's about the myth, in mythology, it's about going, the dying to yourself and being reborn. And as Joseph Campbell says in step 10, apostasis, which this is the moving beyond the pairs of opposites, where you have to realize you have the dark and light in you, which is a very Star Wars theme. It is only when a man tames his own demons that he becomes king of himself or queen of herself, if not the world. Yeah, so I added those lyrics recently to really try to really search that out. And I sort of mashed, I think if you're creating or writing from mythology, it's not just good to go to the hero's journey, but also to the actual sources. So I was studying the Egyptian Book of the Dead stuff, biblical resurrection, and the underworld stuff in Star Wars. The whole point of what I'm trying to communicate people is, if you're going to find the steps, can you hear that guitar? You really got to be honest with the stuff you're going through. And then use the symbols. Going down to weigh the heart, by the light it shines, and the dark it hides, to be raised back up. In the circle of shedding skin, to begin again. So I'm really proud of those lyrics. I think they're kind of really haunting, and I can't wait to record it.
There it is, to the underworld. So that'll be on the next record. But everybody should be listening to F105 to Side B, which is available now. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. It's wherever you get your music. You can listen to it and check it out. There's some great Star Wars inspired stuff on there, like the track Outer Space. And there's some cool videos too that Din has on the F105 YouTube channel. And you can watch the entire DIY Hero's Journey panel on our YouTube channel. And it's like, as you see in that clip, it's like visually enhanced with clips from Star Wars and other fun things and other places that inspired or are inspired by the hero's journey. So there it is. There it is. We've made it. 2021.
Wow.
If you're looking for a video from 2021, it's this. This is it.
Right here.
This is it right now. Right now. That was that. So there you go.
Making
That's
history.
A journey through the history of the Star Wars underworld in, I think that was 16 clips. Wow. So there it was. And I don't know. I don't even know what else there is to say at this point other than here's to the next 10 years. Here we go. And I think with that, unless you guys have anything else you want to say, I think with that, we can start to wrap things up for this episode.
See, well, Ben, are we getting this surprise thing tonight, or do we have to wait another week for this?
You have to wait another week. You have to wait another
Everybody
week.
has to come back. Ben was teasing us with the surprise all day. And,
Yeah, this is something. Yeah, you don't want to miss it. So tune in next week.
Tune in next week for that.
The only people that know about this have been sworn to secrecy. You know who you are. So we'll see how it goes next week.
Nice. Yeah, no, I guess I just wanted to say thanks to all of our listeners for 10 years. What's amazing to me is while we've been doing this show and other shows reminiscing about the past, how many people comment about remembering when all of this stuff happened. And it's just amazing that there are some people that literally have been listening and watching for 10 years. Like that's absolutely incredible. And I think we have like one of the best communities for listenership for
Yes.
podcasts. Like, it's just so amazing how much feedback you give, all the emails you send and the live streams that you go to and leave comments on and talk in our club SWU on Facebook and comment and retweet us. And then there's so many of you we've been able to meet at conventions and various events throughout the years. And it's just amazing. Like every time we go to something, we end up meeting someone new that we haven't before from the community because there's just so many of you. And so that's awesome. And, when these things start happening again, later this year, next year, and we get to meet more people, I'm just looking forward to it so much because it's been really crazy having to be away from everybody for so long.
Yeah.
But with that being said, being able to do a podcast every week and hear people's voices and know that you're listening and then also now see people's faces, that's one of the number one things that has gotten me through these past few crazy years. Like having that consistency, because it's like, in the past 10 years I've moved like 10 times. I've had so many projects and jobs come and go. So many things have changed in my life, and that's been an overdrive the last few years with all of the craziness. But having just one thing consistent every Thursday at 9 Eastern or 6 Pacific, wherever I may be, sitting down talking about Star Wars for 2 or 3 hours every single week, that cannot be understated how much that's played into my sanity and surviving as a person through all of that. It's definitely one of the things that means the most in my life, and I'm just so thankful to everybody, to you, Ben and Dominic, to everybody behind the scenes who who makes this happen and is on our team, Kieran and Chad, and then all of the people in our audience and community. It's amazing, and it makes me so hopeful and excited for the future, which cannot be understated how important that is as a human being, to wake up excited for what's going to happen next. It's the message of Star Wars, and it's become real because of what we have here, and that's incredible.
Yeah, if I can just add on and echo what you said, the podcast has been such a wonderful gift to us all that, like you said, no matter what changes, no matter what's going on in our lives or the world, to have something consistent to that you look forward to. The joy in that cannot be understated. And the fact that leads to so many unexpected and joyful connections, it makes Star Wars even better than it already is. And it means that Star Wars can never truly go away, or can never truly disappoint us, because even when it does, because it does, sometimes things don't work for us. It happens. Even when you don't like a movie, or you don't like a TV episode or whatever, there was so much fun that was had around it,
Right.
with all of the people and all of the friends and all of the conversations, with friends new and old, friends you didn't even know you had, that it just makes it so that this thing is forever and incredible, and something that will never die. No matter what happens on screen, there's this whole wonderful world of people that still want to talk about it, and that's pretty incredible. And everybody who listens now, watches now, or ever has listened now, or ever has listened in the past, thank you, because this has been such an incredible 10 years, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah. I think I can say with pretty well certainty that for the past 10 years, Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern have been pretty much my favorite part of the week. And like you're saying, Chris, it's like the consistency of it. And, my life hasn't changed that much, but it kind of has too. And the world's changed a heck of a lot. And it's nice to come back to this. And it's not, and Star Wars itself has changed. We started this thing well before the Disney buyout, well before anyone even thought about Episode 7 or release realistically. And being able to do this show throughout all that, and seeing us as youngsters, seeing us as basically kids, and going back to those footage was just amazing. But just seeing how much we've changed as people, but also, how much everything has changed. And I don't know how many of you have stuck around that long. I just sincerely appreciate each and every one of you, whether you started listening last week or 10 years ago. We love you. And, podcasting and really anything online creator-esque is something that it's hard to know if someone's listening, watching, whatever sometimes, especially old school podcasting. You'd put it up on thing and you'd see listeners, but it's like, did somebody just click on that and just accidentally listen to 5 seconds of it, or they actually listen to it? And going back and when I still don't take anything for granted, when you guys reach out and say, hey, love the show, been listening for a while, started listening recently, love watching the show now, that stuff means the world. You guys are amazing, and we're friends. We would probably sit around and talk about Star Wars anyway, but this show gave us an excuse for the past 10 years too. And I think, we probably wouldn't be friends. I don't think I would know any of you people if it wasn't for this show. And, it has given us a chance to really bond. And, the most time we've ever spent together is on this show. And that includes you guys in the audience. So it's been a blast, and I would be honored and would, God, I hope I can do this for another 10 years, another 20. I just keep doing this forever, all right, till I die. Like Chris said, if I die on air, that would be it for me. I'm like, okay, that's fine. He died doing what he loved. That's what they say. So that's how I see it. So it's great. It's been great.
And with that, I think we'll begin to wrap things up for this week, this episode, this decade.
Ooh.
Wow.
Dang. I looked it up. There's a website out there that tracks how many episodes podcasters are on. And somehow the three of us have made it into these records. It started counting in 2016, so it's only counted 400 some episodes for me and Dominic, even though I'm sure there's a lot more. But for Ben, because he does 2 podcasts, IPC as well, he's like listed at like 1,000 podcasts. Like, holy shit!
Oh my. Okay.
Ben Hart, the podcast,
and to think about the fact that that's probably an underestimate. If it
that's
started
an
in
underestimate.
26, that's a far underestimate.
It's probably 1,500 or 2,000 individual podcast episodes. That's probably like 3,000 hours of your life that you spent podcasting.
Yeah, like that's insane.
That's
Oh my
incredible.
God.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, we want to thank everybody so much for watching, for listening. We want to thank our live audience. We've had 10 crazy people who've watched this entire stream who are still here somehow.
This is our
over 3
longest
hours
YouTube
later.
show yet.
I mean, since we started our pre-show, it's been 4 hours. This is one of those famous 4-hour SWU streams. So yeah, you can catch the video version on YouTube. Just search for the Star Wars Underworld on YouTube, and you'll find us over there. And of course, we'll be back with another episode, same time, same place, as always, next week. And in the meantime, at the SWU is where you can find us on social media. Dominic, thank you for hosting for almost 10 years. You're gonna have to have an anniversary
You got here
episode
as
for you.
fast as you could.
Yeah. Thanks for waiting for me, guys. No, this has been so much fun today to look back on all of those clips, to watch my hairline slowly recede. Such fun. No, I genuinely had so much fun this afternoon putting together all of these clips and finding them and watching them again and feeling the warm fuzzies all over again, as much fun as we had recording them for the first time. And so I hope everybody enjoyed it, and I can't wait to kick off the next decade next week with whatever crazy things might be going on in Star Wars. It's been surreal, it's been fun, and I can't wait to do all this again in 7 days time.
Heck yes. And of course, you can follow Dominic throughout the week on social media at DominicJ25. And Ben, thank you so much for hosting for 10 years.
Oh, as I say, as I've probably been saying for 10 years, it's been a pleasure, as always. And like I said, I want to keep doing this. Yeah. So yeah, if you guys keep listening, why not? And yeah, I think that's the whole thing. It's like being able, like, doing podcasting is fun, obviously, but it's also really fun when, like, oh, hey, people like this. They actually enjoy what's coming out of our mouths. This is great. Let's keep doing it. So like, it's crazy. It's crazy, and love every one of you for continuing keeping up with us and now watching. And yeah, see you next week and the next weeks and all the weeks afterwards, because I'm gonna die here apparently.
That sounds like a plan. I'm right there with you. And of course, you can follow Ben throughout the week at Ben Hart with no E. You can follow me at Seek3PO. Update on the Instagram. I'm now posting stories regularly. I can't say that word. You know that for 10 years. I literally have to give it 2 attempts every time. But I'm posting stories over on the Seek3PO Instagram that has been kind of inactive for a while because I love that name and I want to do more over there. So if you're on Instagram, follow me at Seek3PO. See some of my adventures in Southern California. So a lot of them are Star Wars related. And of course, please join our community over on Patreon, patreon.com/theswu. We've had that for many years. It's enabled to do us a lot of really cool things at conventions with your financial support, and it's allowed us to pay for any of the expenses that are needed to keep this podcast on air and getting to you guys every single week for the past 10 years. And of course, our reward to you for joining us over there is that pre-show, which now is coming every week in video, at least 20 minutes long, typically. And you never know what shenanigans you're going to get over there on the SW pre-show.
We'll try not to turn it into another login session next time. We'll try to actually be logged into the stuff before we get on the podcast.
We're feeling people like that content as well. tpublic.com/user/the Star Wars Underworld. That's where you can get our merch to rep at the next Star Wars celebration or event. And please keep sending us feedback at swunderworld@gmail.com. And please leave a review on any podcast apps. And please leave a comment and subscribe on YouTube. So that's it. We're out of here. For Ben and Dominic and all the other fantastic contributors we have here at the Star Wars Underworld, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you.
It's a wrap.